are live. Episode 23.
You get the host invite, Bishop?
This guy, he doesn't get it. I'm talking to you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, on my computer, but
I know, but just
you're muted on the space. There we go. Now
yes.
You're no.
This guy.
Oh no, I had my laptop muted, so we do the. We got people in the spaces.
I'm not worried about the spaces. I'm worried about the live stream. We'll get to the spaces when we get to the spaces. You said it. Maybe I said it. I don't know. We are live. Yes, I got you great through the spaces, but I don't have the spaces connected to the stream yet because I wasn't ready. Okay. I got to remove that. And then I will get to here. This guy. So actually I have to unmute you for a second here.
I get a chance to do it. So I'm going to do it now. Go ahead.
Wait, what's that? What are you doing?
People are we live?
We're live on video.
Okay.
And we're live on spaces. Why are you picking your ass? Juan was so worried about the spaces, he's now doing something only for video.
Yeah, we're just gonna get upside down for a second to get the energy flowing. That's it. We're good.
That's it?
We're good. It was quick.
All right.
We're here.
That was it. Get upside down for episode 23 of Live on the Kaspa Standard. We are Bishop and Juan, Live on the Kaspa Standard, episode 23. We are coming to you live from X Spaces at Glitchin888, X Video at Live on the Kaspa.s, YouTube.com/at Live on the Kaspa Standard, and vvor.xyz/channel/TW Takes Podcast. That's the audio, that's the video. If you would like to send an energy exchange donation, LOTKS.kas or liveonthekaspastandard.kas. In our description, we have links to all the socials, almost all the socials. We got new socials coming to you soon. We also have some links to help support the show as well for CashMap, for Kraken, and also to our wonderful sponsor. I am not ready. There I am. Bang! Better Melts. Get bettermelts.com. 50% off. Use promo code LOTKS at checkout. Juan, episode 23, getting upside down to start. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling beautiful, brother. We're here. We're in a beautiful frequency. I've been a little bit more active here over the weekend. Like you said, we got a couple new socials up. When we started the show, we're here on episode 23, brother. So 22 weeks ago, because we did do 1 week where we had 2 of these episodes up. But when we started this, it was like, okay, let's vibe in the frequency of where Kaspa is at. And as we've been building, right, our little community and expanding, we want to meet people where they're at. And people are everywhere, right? They're on all these socials. And so I just opened up a TikTok, Instagram, figured out some YouTube shorts that we can do to clip some of these long. We're obviously doing long format here. The show goes 2.5 hours. And there's so much. I've gone back and listened back to the episodes. That's just something that I've done with just about everything that I've done. I like going back and more so analyzing myself and being like, okay, how can I get better here? But as I've listened to it, I'm like, man, there's some things that we have the spaces running here that other people bring up, that you've brought up, that I'm like, these things can definitely be clipped up and spread out there. And I think it'll just get more eyes on Kaspa. So that's the whole goal here, right? Is to have people become more aware of what Kaspa is and why it's here. So yeah, brother, we're vibrating on that frequency. It's been a beautiful, beautiful week, man. How you doing? How's your week been, bro?
Hold on. Okay. My bad. My bad. So I couldn't hear the audio on Vivor, but that's because my laptop doesn't produce sound from Chrome, but we are beautiful on YouTube. So shouts. I didn't want to end up like last week where I had to upload different audio to video. Plus, there's something going on with my computer, and I don't like it. My video is choppy in my view in the studio, but it's not where it ends up at. So that's cool. Like I'm okay there. But anyway, I'm doing great, bro. Like I don't know if the people can hear the energy, but like, man, we've been trying to align our own perspectives, not necessarily with each other, but like the things that are in front of us. We're trying to align the mindset to get us in the right frequency to be our own level 10s. And this particular week, I've met adversities and we spoke and you're like, yeah, remember a couple of weeks ago when I told you, when you asked about like, hey, what if you have a to-do list and it doesn't get done? You go, well, it wasn't meant to get done. I'm like, yeah, but it has to get done. And you're like, no, man, it doesn't have to get done. I had a whole day of productivity taken away from me, dude. And I was like, I was planning on, because I have this rental property that I'm doing most of the construction, most of the demolition and construction, and I'm tapping out at the skill sets I don't have, right? With tile and large scale plumbing when it comes to, you know, different style pipes. Like I can put in a new sink, but I can't put in a whole new bathroom, right? So I have to frame out a closet that backs up to a bathroom with a new door and fit out a soffit for the ductwork. Like I can do all that stuff. But when that day got taken from me by some unexpected events, I was pissed. And I was like, wait a second. That just means I don't have to do it today. I can do it. I'll do it the next day. And I was pissed literally 10 seconds. 10 seconds. And that kind of thing used to tear me apart for not just that day that it got taken from me, but the next day I would go into it aligned with that frequency of disdain, resentment for whatever got in my way, just all kinds of negativity that I let just go, you know what? Well, it's just not today. And I took it as an active rest day. You know, I can fold the clothes and do some stretching and, you know, so I think I did some paperwork or I don't even remember the stuff I did. That's how smooth of a day it was. It felt so good to be aligned in a way where what would have felt like losing a day was actually giving a day back to myself. So that's kind of the ride I've been going on over the last couple. Yeah, I would say about this past week has really been in that frequency of it's probably the most present I've ever been. It's probably the most present I've ever been. Yeah.
Oh yeah, bro, I love that for you. And obviously we go back and forth throughout the week and get to share on wins and, you know, even some challenges that'll happen here and there. What I love that I'm hearing there, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, whether you're listening in for the first time or listening back, right? Like you can relate to what Bishop is talking about. All of us can at certain points in our lives, right? We have something happen and it comes up, and then we stay in that energy, and then we just kind of derail. So we're in this valley and we just continue to go down. So, you know, what I hear there is a lot of what we've talked about bringing yourself to presence. You know, you just left me a voicemail about how explaining what you talked about there, where when you come to presence and realize, hey, this is all I got, this is all I can do, what do I need to do next? And sometimes that's chill, relax. Like your body's telling you to chill the fuck out. Right. We're in this culture of like grinding, hustling, beating the next person. That doesn't really work for everybody. It might work for some people. But I know that speaking from experience, man, when, you know, I left you a voicemail this morning right before the show, I'm like, the energy, I know what it's like to vibe right here. This is where everything beautiful is created. You know, and I have 25 years going back to, I've mentioned my foster mom, Lucy, plenty of times. But for me, that's where, you know, people talk about in Bitcoin, their orange pill moment, Kaspa, green pill, whatever. What I think all that is like, oh, there's like another way to look at this. There's another perspective than what I've been told. There's something else that I can try on. And that's what I believe you're speaking to. And, for myself, it's just, I know what this frequency feels like. And it's almost, you just spoke to it, where it can be derailing and end up costing you a couple days. For some people, it's a week. Some people, it's a month. Some people never come out of it, bro. Some people have been there for their entire lives, right? It's really like, hey, are you open to taking a look at a different perspective of this? And when you open yourself around to that, and then you don't even have to have the answers, bro. Just get in the
Right.
energy of what we're talking about and be around people that are talking about this. It's going to rub off on you, and you're going to naturally, I'm sure people in the community can attest to this. We've been able to experience me for the past 8 months being a part of the conversation here since the Bitcoin Kaspa debates last July to what this is right now. And what's so there's that frequency that we're operating in, and there you can apply that to every area of your life. And with all that happening, take a look at sentiment, like crypto Twitter. Look at sentiment where it is most of the time. What are some of these Bitcoiners now doing? The ones that aren't getting any attention. They're now having the conversation. I see Gonzo, my man, in here. Seeing
Yeah.
Gonzo's energy. He's even spoken on where he's spending most of his time and his energy, because he has a beautiful family. Obviously, prioritizes that. But when he's showing up here, it's like, hey, no, what can I do to contribute? What can I do to help build? What can I do to bring awareness to this? Right? Because
Right.
people out there need this. They don't know that they need this. Right? So how can
Right.
you approach it? And I talked about this last week. I noticed that the questions are just they're beautiful. I've seen it. I've seen the difference in how Kaspa Onion's engaging. Shout outs to Kaspa Onion. Shout outs to VJ. A handful of guys. And we saw another Bitcoiner here recently be like, okay, this Kaspa thing, this looks legit, and just dive into the conversation. And now he's engaged within the community. So yeah, bro, it's a trickling effect, and it's so cool to see this play out, and that we have social media. I've been able to experience this energy back 20 years ago, and going back to like my first sales job, where people are like, oh, I don't know about that, it might be a scam. People aren't going to pay $1,000 for knives, and I was like, okay, really, huh? Let me come to the whole presence practice, the whole do what you can do, to the whole control what you can control. That is a practice that's been at play for 25 years, and I see it playing out within this community, bro. So fuck yeah, dude, I'm excited for you,
Appreciate
because
that.
it's just like the past 8 months feel like an expansion of like 8 years, right? Think of, you mentioned you go to therapy. I've talked about like how the plants have kind of helped me. I don't care what gets you here, as
Right.
long as you're here, right? It doesn't,
Right.
you don't have to do the plants. You don't have to do. I think, hey, just vibe in this energy. It's energy. Everything around us is
Yeah.
energy. So,
Well, and
so yeah, dude.
you have to grab for what works for you, right? Like there was I don't know, some baseball coach I had. He did like a funky baseball swing, and he's like, the practice makes perfect, right? And he's just doing this. He's like, so if I practice like this for 5 hours a day, am I going to get perfect? Am I going to get better? Right? And you can show up, you can have tools, but if you're not willing to learn, adjust, and grow, you're just going to swing like this forever and think you're doing the work. So finding out what works for you, and constantly questioning your own outcome, right? I've I've gone to therapy, to a really bad therapist, right? And what I found was I wasn't being honest, right? And then I was in another situation where I didn't feel comfortable with a therapist, and I found out they weren't being honest, right? And when you figure out that's again why I love Caspa, and why we're here today, is honesty is just another word for truth, right? So operating within truth, you then unlock all of these things. So I stopped lying to myself when it comes to the fiat system, the American dream, the what have you, right? And I started to think, well, what's true? What's true for here, inside? What do I want? And I want sovereignty. I want the ability to. I explained on here a couple episodes ago, and I definitely don't do it anymore. The anxiety I would get just from entering an application, just entering. I put it in, and then all of that behavior from before would pop up. It's like, well, I did my part. I was a hiring manager for so long. I know what great resumes look like. So I had one. And then I ran it through AI. You know what I mean? And then like I gave it to a service. Get me, and like all that proof of work I was putting in to get nothing in return, so much anxiety. So I stopped lying to myself. What do I want? I don't want a job. I want sovereignty. How can I do that with the tools I have? I'm fortunate enough to have 2 rental properties and a third one that I live in. So what can I do with those 3 assets to build sovereignty? And that's where I'm at today, you know? But shouts to you, my friend. Attached to nothing, right? The concept of needing this house to get to where it needs to get to just so I can have that money for sovereignty. I don't do that. I don't do that. I have a window in which I'm looking for, and I'll say, you know, by May 1st, I want to no longer step in that property and touch anything. I want to turn it over to my manager so they can find a way to have it rented out by June 1st. I want them to take pictures, stage it, whatever they got to do. By May 1st, I want to turn the keys over that way, right? That's my window. If it takes till June, that's fine too. But if I lose a day, that's okay. Because built in my window is I know how much proof of work I need to put in. Imagine trying to do that with a 9-to-5 job. You know, and people with a 9-to-5 job, dude, you've never experienced this, and anyone out here who's listened now or in the future, what have you. A 9-to-5 job with children, that child gets sick. If you have a partner, like a wife, one of you has to choose who's taking off to stay home with the kid. And then in order to choose that, you have to check your PTO to see if you can get the time off. Then it may not get approved because if you work with 5 people and 2 people are already out that day, you might not be able to. So then the one who was able to do it now can't. Therefore, the other has to, might not end up being able to use PTO. Mm. And now you're staying home to take care of your child, which is way more important. But you're losing a day's worth of pay, 20% of your weekly pay. That's what lack of sovereignty is. In order to take care of your family, you have to give up your sovereignty and then be tethered to that system so much that it hurts physically and financially to take care of your child. What the fuck? What the fuck? Now, I haven't had my full brainwashing moment to where I can step forward and claim myself to be an entrepreneur. But I'm taking the steps to be there.
I'll claim it. I'll claim
Thank
it for
you,
you, bro.
Thank you. But I don't like claiming anything. I'm not confident in explaining, you know, and I'm just not there at the educational value, but I know that's where I'm stepping to. And when I get there, it's like when we talk about, well, we're not tech people, right? But we can talk about it, you know? So like, I'm not an entrepreneur, but I could talk about it. And I know where I'm at and what I'm doing is to be an entrepreneur. So in what I'm doing is taking those steps. When that does happen, like our kids are spring breaking. Yours is on right now. Mine starts from Thursday. If I had a 9-to-5, my kid is off Thursday, Friday, and then all of next week. My wife and I would have to bookend that. So we would be off of work while he's off of school, yet the 3 of us never together. What is that? That's a lack of sovereignty. That ain't right. That ain't right. So that's what I'm pushing towards. And everything that I'm touching has been such a decoupling from the system and a fresh perspective on how to control my own narrative. Again, I know not everyone is as, fortunate to take that leap. But if you have the right perspective and the right resources, whatever that looks like for you, I fucking suggest it wholeheartedly, man. Again, you guys have been on this journey with me. In June is when I lost my last paycheck paying job. It took all the way until December, right before Christmas, until unemployment even paid out. I got lucky. I had unemployment pay me out, and I had 2 cents of 401k I was able to cash out to give myself the comfort to not worry about the bills and take this step forward. But while that was happening, I now built this perspective. Now moving forward, No, that money didn't dry up, but I know how to be right where it's going to be when that future becomes the present, and I'm going to be okay. And I'm not going to be a billionaire, but I'm going to be okay because I'm now focused on structuring it that way, and I'm fucking excited, man. I'm so excited. Like I'm
Yeah,
literally never going to have to work for anyone but myself again. It's going to be
I love
amazing.
it. I
It's going
love
to be
it.
amazing.
That's beautiful, man. And dude, I appreciate you going there and kind of, relating it to what you've been able to experience. It's true, yeah, I haven't necessarily experienced it the way you have, but I can tell you that I saw a lot of that. I was fortunate, and give shout outs to my foster mom Lucy, right? And I did this course when I was 20 years old. I think I don't know if I've shared it here on the show, but it's called Landmark Education. And the concepts, I think I have shared it on the show. We've had a couple conversations early on, but it was a weekend course that I did. It was something my foster mom suggested to me, and she obviously saw me and for my potential at 17, 18 years old when I first met her. But I finally was in a place where I was open enough to be like, okay, well, the way I'm doing this doesn't work. And to speak on that a little bit, the way I was as a teenager, I was very, like, the way I was building my life up was within the constraints of everything that I was told. Like, I had no sovereignty in my thoughts and how I went about things. And it was like I was an athlete, a football player. To that point, I had already played, I ended up playing a couple more years. So I'd already played like 6, 7 years. I was in college. And it was a very great foundation for me. A lot of people find success in this. You see it. It's, we celebrate these heroes in the stories. They're pretty cool stories, right? But and I do think it works to a certain extent, and people can relate to that with how they try to build up their lives, right? So, um, the unfortunate thing is with that type of mindset, you kind of get to like this peak, and then you start relating that to your experience and how you got there. So it's about, I kind of see that as like trying to get to this destination. And people talk about, in sports, we love sports, but in sports they talk about like having a chip on your shoulder and just going at it, and again going to the grinding and hustling and beating the guy next to you. And I think some of that is fun in competition and in sport, but when it comes to life, it's like, are we really, is there another perspective, another outlook to it? So that's where I was when I finally took this course. And over 3 days I got all these tools, but more, which I can go on and on about, but what I'm getting at here is I remember I was a 20-year-old sitting in a room, and there was probably like 400 people in the room, like going through this course. And there were maybe 5 other people that were around my age. Most of the people in there were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And I remember getting up and like participating and asking questions. And then they would see how I would ask, and then it'd be like, oh shit, I get it. Wow, I've never looked at it that way. And at the end of the course, all these adults in their 40s and 50s, oh my God, I wish I had these concepts. I wish I had that outlook. Oh my God, what I would have done with my life. And I'm getting goosebumps right now because it's taking me back to that moment. I remember sitting there at the end, I'm 20 years old, and I'm like, I just got everything that I need. I don't have any more excuses. I don't have any more excuses. I just had all these adults come up to me and tell me they wish they saw the world this way. And these were successful people, right? It wasn't like a cheap course that I took. So like that stuck with me. And I share that to say, because like as I hear you speaking this, and like we've been boys now for 7, 8 months, since we've connected, and I'm so fucking excited to do the show with you. It's just like to see the growth and how you're taking things on, and to see like you're freeing yourself, bro.
Big
You're
time.
freeing yourself, and seeing you work through it with like, you sent a message earlier like, oh, I appreciate you sending that message because my body's beat up, and like you've been putting in some proof of work, and like the
It's
energy of
been
that, like
hurt.
you're like, maybe I should do some yoga and shit like that. That's what kind of inspired me. I tried to do like a headstand. It didn't last very long. Whatever. Maybe I'll try it another episode. But yeah, bro, I'm sure people as they listen into this, right, they're going to be able to relate to like where you're at. And it's important to understand, like, we're coming from a perspective of like, hey, there's an option to look at this in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny that this Kaspa protocol that's supposed to be talking about money and all that, it's like, where are the connections? You don't have to understand it if this is your first time hearing this, right? But what do you feel when you hear these stories? Like, where are you? There's something there. If it has you want to go in a little bit deeper, I mean, reach out to us, ask questions. That's how you get the answers to how to navigate your life. Because
Oh,
we're
for
8
sure.
billion, we're 8 billion souls on this planet. And what I know is like, yeah, we're all interconnected, but we all have our individual stories, right? And what I love about this community and what I see and what I know is a synchronicity within it is that those of us that see it, like we're not, the whole, yeah, like I have it on my profile, attached to nothing, connected to everything. I know that at the core, that's where everybody is. They may not see it yet, but I know that that's where it is. And that's the container that I hold in my life and how I see things. Um, so it's exciting, right? Because it's like I mentioned it to you. See what I do is I put orders out to the universe. Some call it God, whatever you believe in. It doesn't matter. But I put orders out to the universe. I do believe in a greater being, a creator, and all that. I happen to call it God, right? But I put orders out to that, and then I surrender to the process. And the way I surrender to the process is I come to presence. And then I realized like these anxieties and these fears and all that shit. I have 25 years of practicing this. And I'm going to give shout outs to my guy, David Bayer. I recommend if you want to hear somebody who speaks the truth, but I've been listening to his content daily for the past couple months as I've been out here in Texas, as I've had my reset. But he talks about a formula that has been beautiful in my life and that I've shared with you and I've shared on the show and I'll share it again. But it's desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. And a lot of us operate in this way that, hey, yeah, we want these things. We want to go about doing it, but going back to how it is when I was in sport, we get this resistance, and then we want to change what it is, and we're not accepting what it is. Right. And by the way, sometimes what it is doesn't feel good. And you think you have to like lie to yourself. It's not about lying to yourself. But as it's playing out, when you become not when you do not resist and accept what it is and acknowledge that you don't like it, well, that opens up this energy to really bring in what you want. And I'm sure many people out here can relate. There's been times in your life like you've been thinking about like, well, you think about the problem, shit. How do I do this? How do I do that? And you're sitting there trying to in your head picture what it's going to be like and how you're going to get out of it. And then all of a sudden you relax and go to sleep and fucking forget about that shit. And you're like, oh damn, it took care of itself. That's an example right there of how it works out. And just to bring some awareness around that formula, that's the way the formula works.
Right.
That's how you accomplish everything. That's how I've been able to live at my level 10 for such a long time. And you're living at your level 10. You talked in the beginning like, yeah, I'm level 10. No, bro, you're fucking there. Like you're there. Now you're going to, like, I'm getting goosebumps here, bro. On the head too. Like, cause you're going to keep going. You're going to keep going. And I'm so fucking happy to be like a part of this and to witness this and to see this. Man,
well, it doesn't happen.
This is what it's fucking about, bro. This is what this shit is about. It's not about how much Kaspa you have, how much you fucking have in fiat, about going back and forth, about showing these fucking charts. No one really gives a fuck about any of that shit, dude. You know what we care about? This right here. Like this is what life is about. Sharing an experience like this.
1,000%. And for me, it doesn't happen in this way without you. That's why I sent you that message that one day that you unlocked mental sovereignty in me. You know, I had no clue what I was doing, banging my head against the wall, right? Like when I mentioned my therapy journey, it's a complicated process based on the trauma that you go through, right? And trauma's trauma. It doesn't matter what it is. People have stuff inside of them that influences neurons in a certain way. You know, my one of my first therapists was an Army soldier. And I was like, yeah, man, I had a really bad mom. I was like, but you got shot at. So like, you know, he's like, bro, trauma's trauma. I was like, what? Like, you're the one that can like machismo here and say, yeah, I've been shot at and it's tougher than what you went through, but trauma's trauma. He's like, no, trauma is trauma. It's the same shit. I'm like, well, fuck, man. Like, I still appreciate you though. You know, it's like, but what I'm getting at is like, there's all institutional bases are helpful, but they come from a certain perspective. And that perspective is, how are you operating in an institutional basis? So we will help correct you in an institutional basis. And as you mentioned with your plant journey, with those medicines, you're able to attached to different dimensions, right? Different constructs of what reality looks like, that interconnectivity, right? You're not going to walk into a therapist's office and they go, well, we're all one. That's just not what they do, right? They assess.
If they did, they wouldn't have a job because
Right.
you would figure things out on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was going through the institutionalize of how to reconnect with these damages and help polish them out, which is great. I still love it. I'm going this Wednesday. I'm going every other week now that I have proof of work to go into instead of every week. And I need it to help with my learned behaviors so I don't become an animal, which is the short version of why I still go. And I do a lot of work on my own. But what I'm getting at is finding a way, just like I did financially, to emotionally and connectively step outside of the institutionalization that we're all put into from birth. Finding a way to continue to step out of that. That's where sovereignty exists. So even when you get angry, you're not sovereign to the emotion of anger. You stick in it and it has a hold of you. And that's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
So continuing to grow. That's why when I found out through our conversation, like, holy shit, there's this thing called mental sovereignty, where this thing comes up in you, and the amount of tools that you get and the amount of modalities that you have to process emotions when they exist is fucking absurd. The amount of words that, like, there's this color wheel chart of words to describe emotions, and there's like 8 chunks in the middle, and then it goes out, and they multiply the chunks as it goes along, and it goes out and it multiplies the chunks. It's like, how many fucking words do you need to describe I'm upset? Like, it's and it continues to bring you into the institutionalization. You're finding an identity to everything, as opposed to being the present and what is. And I'm getting there. I'm not great with it, but this was a test. This past, I was so present, I didn't know what day it was. I sent you a voice note, and I was like, bro, I don't know what day of the week it is.
Bro.
I don't know what day of the month it is. I just know that this is what I'm going through today. And
welcome. Oh my God.
I know
that fires me up for you to say that, because I say it and I'm like, am I an asshole for saying that? Because I really, sometimes it's Saturday. I'm like, hold on, what day of the week? Because I don't operate like that. Like I've had this practice in place for a long time. So, bro, I mean, I know you give me credit for that, but again, I'll go back and say what I've said several times when you try to do that, and I appreciate it. But I know that I'm a reflection of what's inside of you already. And again, I think, to tie it back to Kaspa and why we resonate with Kaspa and why I think so many people do, you speak on sovereignty, and there's a narrative out there that nobody really gives a shit about sovereignty, and that's because most people don't fucking know what it is. And we don't have educators out here really explaining it, meeting people where they're at with it and explaining it. And how do people resonate with the message is they have to connect energetically to it, relate it to where they are in their lives, and then be open, right? So that doesn't happen when you bash it, right? Or you tell people it's supposed to be this way. Like, we all come from different walks of life. I'm a very mixed, like I'm mixed. Like I've done a 23andMe. I don't know my biological father, but I remember when I did that, and I did it after I delved into the plants and all that. I'm like, oh shit, I'm West African, but like some of my family's from like Germany and Portugal, and oh shit, they got all the way to Canada, and like I'm from tribes in Native America, but then they somehow went all the way down to Panama, and like that's where I was born. So it's like I'm connected to all of this, and we obviously operate from this place when we're institutionalized, man. That so like the whole system is institutionalized, and the method that we've had for such a long time is like, how do I battle this? How do I fight against this? But you can go back to the first teachings, and again, it doesn't matter whether you're religious or not. I think there's lessons in like the Bible. There's lessons in the Bible speaks on a lot of the things that these motivational speakers speak on, right? And I recently was taking a look at the story of Moses, right? And Moses went back and freed his people. And how did he do it? He didn't fight against the system. He just got up and grabbed them and left. And I think that story resonates with like where we are in society right now. It's like, yeah, I mean, we've been taught to go and battle and fight. We have history to show what that is. But when there's an opt out, when there's another place to go, like back then there was, oh, let's just go over here where nobody's at. We haven't discovered
Right.
this area.
Right.
Now we have this technology where it's like, oh, I can harness my energy and put it in. And okay, they're going to try to battle me and say, oh, but look at the charts. And it went from 20 cents to 3 cents. Like that's all the institutional bullshit that they want you to stay stuck to. How does it feel? How does it feel when you're around someone here? How does it feel when you have a conversation and someone sees you? That's where we're going with it. That's where we're speaking to. And that's why I love the shift that I've seen with how we're approaching Bitcoiners. And shout outs because I see my man Victor in here, Kaspa Silver. He's been one of the first that kind of, he sits in the conversation. And this is, I got to give him a ton of credit because back when I was like trying to figure this Kaspa thing out, I'd be like, how does he not like it just explode? And he's spoken about it. He has it on his profile. He has, he follows Jesus, is God in his heart, right? And that's why it's like he can be there and have a conversation and then educate all of us, bro. Like a lot of us have a lot to give, a lot of credit to Kaspa Silver. So a lot of love there. Appreciate you being on the spaces here. So dude, that, again, he was one of the few people speaking on this, and now we got, yourself, myself, and we got Gonzo in here. Jason's chiming back in. We see George, who's a regular. So we got to keep speaking to this and let people know, hey, there's another alternative. And it is not about fighting the system. It literally is about opting out of it. Right. And yeah, we have to exist. We've spoken on it. We have to exist in the fiat-based system. But how can we approach it in this way where people are like, oh shit, they're different over there? Well, what's that about? We're getting a little taste of it with some of these Bitcoiners that are talking now, and getting their engagement on
that's
on X and being monetized again, right? Because they've mentioned Kaspa. There's a lot, and bro, are we at $1 billion in market cap? Like that, if we want to measure this in the fiat thing, we're at $1 billion in market cap. Like talking about the number one asset. That's it. And again, to speak to that, because to me, I've been in a place where like this isn't about money for me, right? Yeah. And I'm okay with speaking on that. This isn't about money. I was well off and didn't come into this because I needed to make more. I came to this because there was this energetic way of how I was functioning, and I've been fortunate in life. And I heard how there was this discourse, and I'm like, shit, there's this technology that nobody's really explaining except for people like Kaspa Silver and a handful of people on what it really is. Like we need more conversations like that going on. And I think that's what we're shifting to. And we're super early to this, but $2.5 trillion in the entire industry. That's not that much money.
It's nothing.
There's over a quadrillion dollars flowing in the world. And we all know that the problems, right? We all know that the inflation, the money printing, credit is we need to continue to expand the credit and kick it down, right?
Yeah.
The debt's at like 320 trillion throughout the entire world, and we're not producing even a third of that, right? So we're not going to ever pay that off. So once you figure that out, be like, all right, stop listening to all the bullshit that gets you riled up and start going towards the conversations that actually lift you up and acknowledge where you're at and try to help educate you on how to navigate this life, bro. How to navigate this life. I don't think it's an accident that we're here. So it's like, yeah, there's always going to be problems, but you do have a choice in the perspective that you take and how you're going to navigate this. So I have a kid, I have a family, I have people that depend on me. You do too.
Yep.
I know Kaspa Silver, Gonzo, all of us on here do, right?
Yep.
It's like, what are we going to build for them? What are we going to leave for them? That like that's our responsibility. It doesn't have to. Yeah.
No, I mentioned to you, and I'll speak half on it. I won't give out too many details. But this new property management company I got into has resources to, let's say, flourish as a real estate investor. The company I'm with they're multifaceted when it comes to real estate. And the guy who owns it laid out a story and actually got the information back differently. So he bought an asset for, let's say, $10 million. He had to reorganize the debt, and someone who's helping with the infrastructure of that asset gave him $9.9 million. So he's out of pocket $100,000. After doing his deals and restructuring that asset, it's worth $40 million. Now, these are just round numbers. The numbers are different, but these are round numbers. And also don't want you guys going to find that story anywhere else, because I just kind of want to keep this part of my life private for a second, because I'll speak on it later. So he's out cash $100,000. He's out cash $100,000. And he 4x'd the value of the original investment. Right? But he's out cash $100,000. And that 4x is $30 million fucking dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, what I'm trying to do with my $20,000 401k to pay my bills, it's all relative. It's all perspective. Right?
Yeah.
What are needs? What are wants? What is legacy? What is this? What is that? Right? There's people who literally have nothing, and their legacy is some of the most beautiful culture, traditions, and families of all time. Right? So what are we doing here? And what I'm building for my life, for my family, for my wealth, my legacy is sovereignty. And I don't see sovereignty as freedom of life. Right? I see it as freedom of operation. That may come at the end of this with me having $50 million. I don't fucking know. I don't care. Because I know even if I have $50,000 or I have $5,000, I'm going to operate like this on a more polished level 10, like we spoke about over the last couple of weeks. When we first met, I'm like, bro, you're on a level 10. I'm on a level 1. I'm just trying to get up to the perspective where you're at. And then over these last 22 weeks, what we realized a couple weeks ago, live on air, it popped in my head. We are forming our own level 10s. Some of us have work to get there. Some of us can access it, right? Some of us can access level 10, but can't really live and feel there, but we know what it looks like. So as Steve Bartlett said, live life at the finish line. So live at that level 10 while it's polishing around you, and you will always attract what it is. Right? The saying in business and in life or what have you, whether you think you're right or you think you're wrong, you're correct. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. You attract that with you. So if you find your level 10 and you sit there, you sit at your level 10, even if it's scatterbrained and unclear, but you understand what that level 10 looks like, you'll get there.
Yeah.
You will get there. You know, because that's what I realized through the mental sovereignty, is that mental sovereignty is my level 10.
Yes.
But when I found it, I didn't know what it looked like, how to do it. And then I was like, okay, so how do I continue to touch it? And the more I touch mental sovereignty, that's the only reason why I'm sitting here today talking the way I'm talking. That is it. And it came through Kaspa, but I guarantee you, because it's happening now. We love Kaspa, and I speak in hyperbole. Okay. So I love you all, and I love anyone who's listening at any point in time, but I do mean this in a fiat person perspective. Kaspa's useless right now, right? In hyperbole, Kaspa's useless right now. Yes, you can add it into like the 3% of your life to make your life a little bit more efficient, a little bit easier, but it's not going to take over what's going on, right? It's not going to push you to that next thing. It could be a tool that can help other things happen, but sorry, most cryptocurrencies are useless right now. So what can you do? Where can you be? What can it touch? How can you operate? And that mental sovereignty has been so fucking huge for me, bro. Look, yeah. I'll tell you, look, live on the Kaspa standard, right? How did you live on the Kaspa standard this week? To live on the Kaspa standard and to help my son understand sovereignty and proof of work. We're up at the property yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, you guys need any help? Because there's nothing he can really do." I had a little sawzall that I put a tree blade on so he can cut branches down because we needed some stuff cut down. I said, "Look, I need that bush cut down. I need a bunch of this done." He goes, "Can I have cash for that?" I'm like, "Yes, you can." He said, "What? Like 30 a tree?" And they're the little sticks, whatever, like, you know, little Rose of Sharons that pop up. I said, "How about this? Let's do 100. You can have an opportunity to earn 200 based on what happens." He ended up tapping out halfway through. He reorganized himself, went after it again. He organized everything he cut down in these bushes. And I said, "What are you doing right now?" I went out to check him. "What are you doing right now?" She says, I'm trying to get that cash, Dad. I said, no, you're not. I said, you're putting in the proof of work. You put in the proof of work, you will be rewarded with Kaspa. I said, so the more you put in that proof of work, the more Kaspa you'll get. So put that proof of work in, and I got you. We did the whole thing. At the end of the day, looked at it. I go, looks like 150 cash to me. He goes, yeah, I didn't quite do everything I wanted to do either. I was like, fucking right. Fucking right. Like, it just, right inside of me, I gave a big fist bump to my kid and was like, he correlated his proof of work to what the end goal was, which would have been 200 cash. He knew he could have performed a thicker proof of work, a stronger, more secure proof of work to nail that 200 cash. Man, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Brother, like that just speaks to, you know, the foundations of why we're here, and the show is called Live on the Kaspa Standard, is because Kaspa at this point represents the best form of a protocol to harness your energy and not take us out of our sovereignty, right? The base layer of it. You can just look at the numbers. So it's the evolution of why Bitcoin was even launched, right? And Bitcoin is what it is. We've spoken on that several times, and we can obviously get into it if anybody wants to get into it once we open up the floor. But again, this is like we speak on this. Bitcoin and Kaspa and all the other ones they're ideas. Excuse me, they're nouns to ideas. So so you gotta do your own proof of work to figure out what these things really are at their core, and does it mirror and represent how you live your life and function in your life, and what you're speaking to, and how you can give that lesson to your son and him wanting to earn some cash. Like, that is from where we were, you know, a handful of months ago to what you're doing, bro. Fucking proud of you, dude. That is awesome.
Thanks, man.
You're doing a better job than me right now with that. I'm like, you just gave me some ideas. I got my boy here. He just flew in yesterday. You know, I'm not renting a car. Like, I have a bike here, and we're walking. We're putting in, you know, so he's getting big and all that. He looks a little bit taller from you know, the month that I hadn't seen him. But I'm like, we gotta move around and make some shit happen while he's here. So, and we got a big yard here that there's some work that he could probably do around the yard that I could, you know, have him earn some cash as well. So I love that. I love what I'm hearing, bro. So yeah, man, that's what, you know, that's why we're here within Cast. Like you're right in terms of it being, and I understand you're speaking in hyper, but let's speak to it. Like, we're not afraid to go here.
Sure.
You know, the market hasn't decided. You know, this is still playing out. So it is about using Kaspa. So
Right.
how are we using it?
Right.
And we've mentioned this several times. It's like, if you think you're just gonna buy this shit and sit back and watch it, yeah, it's not gonna fucking work out for you. You know, I think I'm an example this past year, up until the beginning of 2026, like, where it's like, oh shit, I have enough money. Let me just buy a shit ton of Kaspa. And I, you know, slowly but surely I learned, oh no, that's not how it works in this proof of work type of deal, right? It's like, it wasn't about money for me to begin with, but I was in this comfort zone where I you know, I have this skill set to go out here and earn fiat. I know how to do that. There's things, you know, there's a bunch of things. I've thought of this so many times. Like I know there's things that if I spoke with people one-on-one could take you from where you thought you were a level 1 to your level 10, right? So I've been a coach. I've been a you know, a resource for people, and I've never really charged people for that. You know, so for that could be my contribution. You know, I don't know, there could be something there that I could start. But my point is, like, I realized the only way that the cast was going to work out for me is if I'm having these conversations, if I'm talking about it, and if I'm using it. That's the only way this gets adoption, right? That's the only way it happens. So these conversations are important. The proof of work that you're putting in is important, and it mirrors the foundations of what this protocol is about, right? And I love where we're at with it. Like, we finally have some of these maxis who've identified themselves as that, opening themselves up. And I think the most beautiful thing that has happened is that Bitcoin went from 126 in nominal terms down to, I don't know the price of it, because I'm not even tracking it. Like, by the way, I'm back to doing my buys, the consistent buys per day.
Oh, nice.
So nice. I'm back to doing that, and I I'm excited about that. But again, it's not, I'm not looking at the nominal terms in it. It's like I'm converting the fiat to the Kaspa. I love seeing it. Like this morning, it went from like 10 to 302. So I guess Kaspa was, around that. Pretty easy math there to figure out like the price of Kaspa. But I'm not on the energy of the price of Kaspa. I'm on the energy of like, okay, I just need to make sure that I'm converting it. I'm obviously smart about this because I've been in entrepreneur mode just like you have, by the way. Like, welcome. You're here. You're here. This is what it is. This is what it is. We don't need to have all the answers that of what's going to happen. Even you don't even need to know a couple hours from now. You need to have like intentions and hey, what needs to get done, and then just attack that. And then, like I said, the small shit takes care of itself as long as you're focused on the big problems. That's how it works out. So yeah, bro, it's beautiful to see how you're navigating this, and us vibing with each other and having these conversations. Like, we're here, bro. We're here and we're doing it. We're putting in the proof of work on a daily basis.
I mentioned a couple episodes ago when Kaspa was up around 4 cents, that I had sold 100 USD. I converted 2,500 CAS to 100 USDG on Kraken. So I was like, okay, here's this conversion, and then I was like, let me set the buy to get 3,000 cash back. Well, that triggered yesterday.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So like I played the institutional game when it came to it, and I'll tell you this. That's a free 500 cash by doing that, right? I mentioned last week, I don't know if I said on the show or I said to you, I don't ever want to do it again. I really don't. Like, it's a free 500 cash, and I appreciate it. I'll probably give it all to my kid anyway, right? Like, but playing with the charts again is not sovereignty. It's not sovereignty. That daily buy of the 10 that converts whatever this USD thing is, right? Whatever this cash asset is, whatever it's going to deflate to in the next year is, wherever it's going to look like in 10 years is not going to be what it's worth today, right? Because the dollar just fucking goes down and down and down. Converting
it
that
has to,
it has to, yeah. And converting that to Kaspa, because it's a hard money asset that is quick peer-to-peer cash. So when my kid does help do things, I can say, hey, buddy, here you go. Thank you for helping. And I can feel confident that I can give that to him, honestly, as fast, if not faster, than counting out dollar bills. Like, it's
not even a competition, bro. Yeah. I mean, the fiat's going to disappear from the system. I mean, going back to like pennies are out of circulation, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I mean, you just take a look at what's happening. US, what is it? The CBDCs are coming, right? They're even talking about it within the crypto rails and like how that's going to be. So I do think a lot of these things are Trojan horses to get to the asset that people actually want. And once you get to a level where you can do some digging and kind of get to your mental sovereignty, you can start asking the questions. And there are people out here like us who, when you ask the questions, I'll tell you if I don't know that I don't know. Oh, good question. I don't know that. Or I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, that's a shit coin, or have fun staying poor. All those fucking things that don't, like, all that shit needs to die, and it will slowly but surely. Once people. So that being said, bro, it's also important to understand, like, not everybody is going to. Just take a look at human history and how it works. It's not that 100% of people need to get there, or even 50%. It's just like we're building a little economy where there's an opt out. I see my man Rosario on here, right? Like, he's got a compound out there. He told us he doesn't want to live alone. See him. I see you in the new profile pic, Rosario, with his kid. And it's like, yeah, we're speaking to this future and this energy that we want to vibe in. And again, all of us have families. So it's really like living into that future and understanding the tools that are around you to make that to make that so right now as we operate and navigate through life. That's a concept that I got really, really early on in my life, or I was like, oh shit, I don't have to be angry at my dad that I had to divorce him. I don't need to be mad. I don't need to have a chip on my shoulder. And the concept of responsibility, back before I knew all this was, oh, but it's their fault. Like, I would put blame and I would go out there. And this goes back to something I mentioned on last week's show. I learned the concept of like going from within. It's like, oh, responsibility doesn't mean like, okay, yeah, but there's something that happened out there. Maybe it wasn't my fault, but I have it's in the root of the word. I have the ability to respond to this. I actually have a choice. Oh, so it doesn't need to be something that I carry with me into everything that I do. And I got that. I got that early on when I shared earlier, when these adults would come up to me and be like, oh, I wish I was 20. Because when you're 20, you have, 20 years of experience. When you're
Right.
40, it's like you talk to it. It's like I'm doing this little by, and what I see with you, Bishop, is like, no, you're starting to shift those narratives and conversations that you've had within yourself, because you've been your biggest critic. Like
Yeah.
you've been the person that's held the energy of how you've attached these stories, and now you're shifting and realize like, oh shit, I actually have the ability to respond to this and choose how to look at this so that it serves me, and you do not carry that on to your child, right? And I can tell you, it's like I think I've talked about this with my son. He's like the polar opposite of his mom and I. He's like a very grounded, chill kid. Like, oh, he's just here, and it's like, thank you for picking us as your parents, because
Right.
I absolutely needed that mirror in my life, like right there, right next to me, to continue to heal some of these traumas. So for me, it's like I know that I've healed generational trauma. I know in my family, I've shared this before. I'm like, I'm the
Yeah.
asset manager in my family. They've counted on me, right? And I did put a lot into Kaspa and into Bitcoin, right? And in nominal terms, is down here. But you know what? They also got this. They got this. And it's Juan Gabriel here, because me and my brothers were all Juans, and even my dad. Like that's why I put Juan Gabriel. But they're like, I'm like, give me a couple months. Don't worry about it. I'll get the funds back up, and that's what I'm doing, bro. So yeah, even operating in that, right? Even operating in that energy and understanding, like I have evidence of how this pans out when you channel your energy in the right place, and you vibe in the frequency, and you surround yourself around people that are lifting you up and holding you to who you are. You got to put in the proof of work, bro. That's the
Yep.
only way. That's the only way you get there. So, hell yeah, I'm excited about this shit, bro.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. No, I'm with you, man. And like I mentioned before, proof of work. And actually, I said this to you, which was it was so cool that I felt like I was the one in the conversation earlier this week. It's not just proof of work, but it's proof of work with perspective, right? Something I kind of mentioned earlier too, right? When you see what's in front of you and you go from wants to needs, and you have the perspective of, oh well, I can do this with this much money, and that also is the same I did with so much more money. And it's,
Ooh.
again, it's the difference. Look, I'll just use you for example, right? Like you go from this massive condo, beautiful scenery. That was the first thing everyone said to you when you were live on video. It's like, oh my God, that view, right? And you get just as many compliments of a TV with the tree of life behind you,
Yeah,
right? And you
it's just as
save
cool.
you
It's
save
just as
X, right? And you
as
save X
perspective.
amount of money, or there's X amount of money not leaving your pocket because of perspective and
Yeah.
situation. Like just being in that different spot. But are you in a different spot? You yourself are not in a different spot. You
I'm
are
not. No,
here.
it's the same energy. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
being
dude,
able
I
to
think we
harness
should,
that frequency. Yeah, go ahead.
and I think we should share details on that conversation, because that was something I remember sharing that with you.
Well, those are your
And
details, so I didn't want to bring them out.
yeah,
That's
no, no,
yeah.
I appreciate that, but I think it's relevant to the conversation, because I've talked about, I mean, the reason a lot of people started following me when I shared a post right after the to give reference on like why I even speak on Casper, or people care what I have to say. I shared that, in the fiat world, I became a millionaire in September of 2023 on paper. And then I also had a chunk of that in checking accounts, in a bunch of different bank accounts, right? So that was a goal, but it wasn't like this goal that I set like, oh, I want to get there by a certain amount of time. Like 4 or 5 years prior to that, it was like, I don't give a shit how I get there. Excuse me, I don't give a shit when it happens, but how I get there is what matters. So my perspective shift in how I showed up for people and how I was solving problems. Like that's what attracted the money into my life. So I was able to experience that at the same time I was holding Bitcoin the entire time, and I had a good amount of it. So like I was able to correlate that once I dove into this and had the money and the time to take a look at everything. But what I shared with Bishop the other day was like, when I moved out of my apartment, by the way, I'm still on paper, like I have enough assets where like I'm technically a millionaire. It's not about that though. Like I own real estate. I'm in private equity deals. I have cash flow coming in. But what it was like living in Miami, I'll share this because it's relevant, right? My expenses were about $25,000 to $30,000 a month. And it wasn't hard for me to pay that with how I was generating money and how I was vibing. It was cool. It was fine. The perspective that I got once I moved out of the apartment was being in this community and understanding that like I've never given a shit about the stuff and the things. And it was nice to live in that apartment. I was like, all right, I can lower my expenses. And I brought them all the way down to less than like 10 grand. Right. And by the way, I support a lot of people. I pay for a bunch of things. So for me to do that, there were some things I had to cut out. And cutting out the excess and getting to where I am right now, it's the same energy that I was in. That's what that I was in over there. I'm just, and the way I talk about all this, it's not about the amount that you have. It's about the perspective that you have on the things that you need, and how you come to realize that like, hey, you're here no matter how much is in your bank account, right? You can vibe and live that way. Like you said, I'm living at my level 10 still. And it's not about the amount of money that I have in my bank account, right? I have assets in the fiat world that I cannot access that are not liquid. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. If you have a little bit of money, you own a house or whatnot, like you can't just go take a loan on the house. And technically that's an asset that's on the book. So like I still have all that, but it was really great to like move out of the apartment and to go through that exercise to take like my expenses from 30 grand a month all the way down to like 10, because I'm like, oh shit, like I'm even freer.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can operate in this completely, like I'm opening up these new pathways. And again, I've been in this entrepreneur mode since the beginning of this year. And I've tried but I know the way that shit works. It's kind of rough in the beginning. I was getting the grease off the wheels, like trying to get things going. And now the conversations, the money that's flowing in, it's happening again. It's happening again because I'm in that same frequency, right? And I'm not resisting what is, and I'm accepting it and working through it, right? So yeah, bro, it is perspective. It's not a specific amount or an end goal. It's like, can you go through the peak? Can you go through the peaks and the valleys and just hold on to what the perspective is, right? What's important. That's life. That right there is life.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and you had mentioned to me, and just to round out the numbers a little bit, you had mentioned to me that you received a chunk of about a tenth of what you used to need.
That too.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I got about, I think it was 4,000. I think was the number.
It was like I'm like $4,000 now would like, I literally, I'm good for the next couple months or something like that. Where like $4,000 wouldn't have been enough for like a couple, like a week.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to tie the number to that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing what your perspective can do when you're operating at your level 10. And again, I actually feel in our relationship, right, we're coming from opposite ends of what this looks like, right? But we're literally on the same frequency. It was really funny that we both within a day or so of each other, we literally flipped the same switch, right? Like we like found this new layer in the frequency that was like, oh shit, clear path forward on the same day. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, like this is crazy, because I've never had that type of confirmation bias really just solidify for me. It's always been the, oh shit, $4,000 just showed up. This is confirmation bias, right? And it's not. The frequency in which you're operating in that opens up that path to see like, holy shit, going forward. Because again, as I say, 6 months from now, 3 years from now, that $4,000's nothing, right? It's nothing. It just is. But when that pathway's open and you can stay there, that's forever. That's forever.
That is forever.
Yeah. And look, I remember when you were sitting in your condo, and I had told you like your story and situation to me is aspirational. I don't necessarily find it inspirational, because I don't want to live in a penthouse in Miami. I don't. Like it's not a goal of mine. So I'm not inspired by your view, but I am inspired by your circumstances. So I can aspire to be in my level 10. I didn't know that because I aspired to be at a level 10, thinking that you were there, and you were, not knowing that I could get there on my own just by trying to figure out what frequency works for me. And it seems we have a very similar one that lines up really fucking well, and it's bringing me just situational success, man. Like, again, I'm not foolish. My wife and I can sell everything right now. We can move into a 3-bedroom apartment and be great, honestly, dude, for like 10 years without working. Like, we'll be more than fucking fine. But that's not my level 10.
Yeah.
You know?
That'll have things fall apart. Then that's not, yeah.
But aligning myself to achieve a cyclical income within my rental properties, and then growing our assets to create legacy wealth is what I am trying to do, because that's my mental math and skill set. If it breaks a certain way and I have to move another direction, I know I'm going to do it with how I'm presenting myself today. Yeah. And I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. I mean, again, it's just like I love seeing your. I've told you, because I remember initially when you reached out to me, like, hey, I don't want to take up too much of your time. That's sometimes what people think. I know what it's like to like be that, to be the kid that just, not saying that you're a kid, but like to be curious of, oh, okay, I think I want that. And then you realize like, oh no, you've already had that all along. And I know that the people that have been gracious enough to have the conversations with me and be open enough to like let me in on their perspective showed me that I already had this all along. So when I tell you things like you're already there, I see it's you just working through your things to realize you're already there. It's just an energy, a frequency that you tap into. And from there, everything that you desire is going to be created, right? And again, making sure that you're around the right people and the right energies to bring that out within yourself. So that goes back to, what do I tell my son every day? And I see him back there. Julian, mantra? I don't know. I don't think you can hear him, but he says, I am complete and I have everything within me that I need. Right. And that goes for all of us. Just some people don't know that yet. So you gotta meet them where they're at and have them see that for themselves. Right. So that takes however much time for each individual, man. So yeah, dude, this is beautiful. I've enjoyed this fucking conversation today, bro. It's been beautiful. We're about an hour in. I think we got a few people in the spaces. I don't know about.
Yeah, let's open it up.
I saw we had a couple comments from YouTube, but I think, yeah, if anybody wants to come up and be a part of the conversation, ask some questions, share whatever it is you got going on, feel free to do that. Oh, I see we got my man Chris up here too.
If you're on YouTube or X Spaces and you comment, I posted to the live feed as well. We had IT Cyberspace comment from X Spaces while I was doing my thing, because I was the one speaking when we got the 100.
Hell
yeah!
The
fire emoji, son.
Fuck yeah, bro. That's all you brought. That's all you brought today is fire. That's all you brought today. We are elevating the frequencies and all this shit. I love that people are getting to see Bishop, man, because it's like I saw this shit months ago when you're like, I don't know. I'm like, I know you have the LOTKS podcast and you speak on wrestling. All that stuff prepared you for people to really see. I had somebody tell me yesterday, if he wants to come on and say it, but he was like, dude, Bishop is a bit of a shaman himself too. Like,
oh shit!
So I had somebody tell me that Bishop is. I'm like, I know. He don't know it fully yet.
Nice.
Yeah. So so you have to have these experiences to bring that out of you, and then people just reflect back, who you are, and it's a beautiful thing, bro.
I appreciate that. That. All right. Well, before we get to inviting everybody, the invite's out, but before anyone joins, let's just run it back real quick. We are episode 23 live on the Kaspa Standard. Myself, Bishop at LOTKS.kas, and Juan at Glitchin888. If you're watching on YouTube and want to join the show, or X Spaces or on X, if you're watching on video, you want to join the show, hop over to X Spaces, request to speak. We'll have you on. That's at Glitchin888 X Spaces. If you're on Spaces and want to enjoy the video, we got X Video at Live on the Kaspa S, YouTube.com/@Live on the Kaspa Standard. and vvor.xyz/channel/TWTakes podcast. When if you'd like to send an energy exchange donation, we have LOTKS.kas and liveonthekaspastandard.kas. We are also sponsored by Better Melts. Get bettermelts.com. Promo code LOTKS for 50% off. That's getbettermelts.com. Promo code LOTKS for 50% off. If you also want to help support the show and you are a Caspian who loves Cas, go to casmap.org. Use promo code Juan or Bishop. If you haven't tried Cas yet, there's a Kraken link in the description that gives a little bit of gift for you, a little bit of gift for us. Other than that, stay tuned to @Glitchin888 and @TWTakes podcast. Give us a follow on all of those, but stay tuned for the other platforms, the IG, the TikTok. We'll be posting more clips as we go along. So just, again, like you do for everyone else, like and subscribe so you can stay in touch with what we got going on, up to date, if you will.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So again, if you want to come up and speak, great. If not, Bishop and I can keep it going. But feel free to request on Spaces if you want to come up and dance with us in the conversation. Yeah. So in the meantime, so we talked about this at the beginning of the show, but I did just start. I even went on TikTok. Like, I don't have a personal. I wasn't on any of these socials, bro, up until the Kaspa thing and the Kaspa, debates last year. I've shared. I had this, it'll show that I've had an account since 2024, but I remember people would follow me and I would delete them. I was in the Bitcoin space and I had a handful of people follow me in Bitcoin. They all unfollowed me once I started talking about Kaspa, which is great. It's cool. Cleansed all through that. And then the real ones started to show up. Yeah, so now we do have a TikTok account. The goal here is to share little clips from the conversations that we're having and just get people to, that are somewhat curious, to get them to come on over and be a part of the conversation and get educated on these topics that, there's just very little education out there. We had him on earlier, but like Kaspa Silver for a long time was like the only person speaking like in depth on some of this stuff. And now we have a bunch of creators out there. So like we got my man Chris on here, who I know they're going to go 96 weeks, bro, of bringing blockchain banter on Mondays. Like, talk about consistency and showing up for the community. So shout outs to Chris. They're going to be on later on this. So Eastern time, I think at 4 or something like that, or maybe it's 3 o'clock. They're going to be on after us, so check that out on Spaces. Then they also have another show with Crypto Pumps and Jay, I think. Yeah, Crypto Pumps and Jay. They do a show on Tuesdays that they stream on YouTube, right? And there's a handful of guys out there. Like I'm coming to mind. If you can think of some too, like Scape is another great Kaspa content producer. Obviously Kaspa Silver's throwing some stuff up. Oh, and I don't know if he's put out a tweet on here, but we had a suggestion in a tweet on, hey, maybe it'd be cool for Kaspa Silver and Onion to host former Bitcoin maxis and talk about the story. So that was out there. So, and there's a new guy, and forgive me for, I can't think of his tag, but I think his name is Zach. So Zach recently jumped into the Kaspa community, and we've all been like retweeting him, and he's getting all these new Kaspa followers. But anyways, we had that tweet go out, and I thought it was a great idea. So what does Juan in Action do? Create a little group chat. I put everybody in there. I'm like, hey, can we make this happen? Boom, boom, boom. It's happening, bro. April 4th, I think at 8. Don't quote me on the time. I'll put it out later. But Kaspa Silver is going to host it on his YouTube channel, and we're going to hopefully stream it to Spaces. But we're all going to get on there and have a conversation. So it's going to be VJ, Kaspa Onion, myself, Kaspa Silver, and the new guy, Zach.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome.
Sir. So, yeah, April 4th. So we're going to stream that live. I'm sure an official announcement will go out, but I definitely want to make sure that I mention it here. So I'm grateful to be included in that conversation. And I'll represent the best that I can I was primarily Bitcoin only. I found Kaspa trying to find more Bitcoin. And here we are. And I think it's the same situation for VJ. Same thing for Onion, and obviously Zach as well. So it'll be cool to be a part of that conversation. So yeah, check that out. Put it on your calendars. If you're hearing it here, it'll be live on April the 4th, Saturday, April 4th. We're gonna have that on Kaspa Silver's channel.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's really cool. The more that information happens, the better. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that Bert was the MVP of the Kaspa community. But I think this past week it's been Bitcoiners, man. Like you mentioned,
right?
They're like engagement farming, if you will. But to be fair, it does seem some of them are truly asking questions. And the problem that happens when you don't fight the Kaspa community and you ask questions, you get answers.
You do.
You get truth. And there's this one guy, I'll shout his name out, Bitcoin Ratchy, Rachy. He put out like a 21 layer thread of his opinion of what his Kaspa research brought him. And there's some holes in my opinion. There's some holes, but it's very opinion based on his research where, let's say it's a fact for Kaspa, because he hasn't sat in it. It's something he can kind of like move to the side because it doesn't measure to what he believes a fact of Bitcoin is, right? Bitcoin's harder money than Kaspa. Well, it's not, right? They're literally about as hard as each other.
You gotta get their baseline, right? So yeah. I mean, I can tell you. I'm gonna.
Well, I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to fight any of the points. I just kind of like, well, Kaspa does that too, But what I really took from it was, if this is like you said, the baseline, because I was there too. I was like, okay. Again, as I say, like in 6 months, the Kaspa hardening for him is not going to go down, right? It's only going to get harder and harder and harder, like the information itself, not the money, but the information. So everything's going to solidify more and more and more because, you're just going to continue to operate in truth. So it's it was really cool to see a lot of these Bitcoiners go, oh well, I engagement farmed Kaspa, but check this shit out. And it's like, look at that, So it'd be cool to talk to some of those to at least like say the perspective, because I think, as me and you have mentioned before, like Bitcoin as a hard asset, it's not a bad thing. It just has some flaws, and it being a first mover is cool because that means that the adaptability is there. But within those flaws, as a store of value, if it can be protected with a fee structure, it's fine. It's fine. But it's not there. Right. So, those things need to be fixed. Are we saying Kaspa's perfect? No. And my biggest judgment, and I'll say this soon. Sorry, keep cutting you off, but my biggest judgment of Kaspa will come when they say it's done. Right? When they go, we're not going to develop anymore. Thank you guys so much. Done. That's when my biggest criticism will come in. I don't know. They did it with Bitcoin. Yeah. Right? They did it with Bitcoin. But if that ever comes to fruition with Kaspa, I'll be a huge fucking critic if I see something wrong. But until then, they keep building and future-proofing. So I'm tempering what I need to say about it,
Well, and I mean, and the way you're breaking that down, right? It's like Bitcoin is still innovating on layers. So that's their view to it. It's like, because the base layer in their views is secure, and they don't want to change it. It's like we've figured out digital scarcity, and it's what it is on the base layer, so where the conversations, where I'd love for the conversations to go, because even that Bitcoin Ratchy said it, and I responded in a tweet to him because I wanted to get his baseline, and he's like, I've been buying Bitcoin since 2017. I'm like, cool. I've been given Bitcoin, I've been buying it since 2018. Cool. So that doesn't mean anything. You got to get people's baseline. This goes back to me like building in business and function in the way I function to try to understand the other side. I really do come from there. Like I forget about where I'm at. I'm like, where are they at, and where can I communicate and find, like, bridge the gap. So with him, it's like there's still, like you said, he hasn't sat with Kaspa for that long, and there is attachment because he probably has a lot of Bitcoin, and he probably needs that to go up in nominal terms, and that's okay. Like that's where most people are going to come from. So I'm curious. Maybe I'll read the thing, but I've already seen a lot of things and how he's talking about it. The cool thing is that he's open to the conversation, and that's all that's needed in order for others. Because what ends up happening, especially with the, like the accounts that are influencing right now, are these Bitcoin accounts. And one of the great things that's happening for Kaspa is like that it is going down in nominal terms because it's getting people to ask more questions, right? Because what's the narrative they like to talk about cycles. The narrative every cycle is like Bitcoin's going to 1 million. You know, we hear it from I'm not going to shout out like people's names.
We're good.
But like we hear from guys like all you need is 0.1 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be $10 million. It's going to be $1 billion. And it's like, dude, just anybody that has a critical thought or knows how to think or go down, questioning things can just do the math on that. It doesn't make any sense. And all you're doing is you're keeping people in this bubble of speculation. Right. So all of these projects aren't finished. All of these protocols aren't finished. And yeah, Bitcoin is the first iteration of an idea that isn't finished, but it is finished in terms of how consensus has come to see it at the base layer. And that's a technological limitation when you really take a look at it, right? So now we can go another layer into it. But if people see what happens and what I see with Bitcoin Ratchi, and shout outs to him, right? Because he's having the conversation.
Yeah.
And I saw another young lady as
and
well.
And well thought out.
Yeah, again, they're having the conversation, and that's all that's really needed to get others to kind of come in and see this thing. Because what we're seeing is like no matter where the price of Kaspa is, people are coming in and being a part of the conversation and chiming in, and then they think we're bots and they think all that shit. We've been around long enough to know that like, there's real people behind these accounts that are coming and asking these questions. So I just, again, we're still so early to all of this, and we have evidence with what Bitcoin has done over the past 17 years. It is the most secure network because of its hash rate and what it's done, and like obviously the monetary value that has been put into it and where it stands compared to everything else is out here, right? We already know a bunch of the stuff, like the memes and shit. We know that they're memes. There's nothing backing it. There's nothing behind it. But from the foundational principles, and I talked about this last week, of proof of work, decentralization, bounded by energy, and also a set hard cap supply. We know that at the base layer, we need to use this to incentivize the hash rate to secure the network, right? And that is a conversation that we tried to have 7 months ago that is like now somewhat being entertained again, right? So there are, like you said, there are issues. These protocols aren't perfect, and there are issues within the protocols that if we don't look at it and address it and are real about it, like they're going to be concerns, right? So these conversations are important to continue innovating, right? So there's the developers that are going to build on the code, that are going to continue to do that, continue to open source it, and there's people like us that are going to continue to have the conversation, and we're going to relate this to real life. We're going to mirror this to like how we function and vibrate in our lives, right? And there was a sector of Bitcoin. There is a sector that does that on the base layer. I saw like a big Bitcoin account talk shit about the Bitcoin conference, saying like, oh, scammers, influencers, and paid Bitcoin shillers are the ones that are going to go do that. Because yeah, they're talking about building. So there are Bitcoiners out there. We're Bitcoiners that think this.
Do you?
Like, no, I don't want to give I know that it's no longer my Bitcoin when I give that to an exchange.
Do you still have your ticket to the Bitcoin conference?
Yeah, I remember that when I saw that tweet. I'm not going. I'm not going because I'm not in that energy anymore. I mentioned like, oh, it was a part of the Nomad trip. But like I can't be there. I can't, like, that isn't where my time is best served. Like I'm building again, bro. I'm building, I'm building and attracting fiat and opportunities and all that. And I'm attracting the fiat because I know that there's this protocol that is being built out. And I don't know how long we have, but I think it's a good amount of time. Like taking a look at where things are in the market, bro, it's probably going to bleed a little bit more before it gets better, right?
I have no clue.
That's the way that it doesn't matter based on how we function, right? Because we have everything we need.
Yes.
So what is important is that we continue to have these conversations, because like you will be good as long as you don't go and speculate and go above your means and shit like that, bro.
I'm curious.
That's where a lot of people go.
Yeah.
And that's where we attempt to kind of bring people back to themselves, right? It's not about how much you fucking have or try. These protocols aren't about getting rich,
right,
like in fiat. Because if you go there, you will be brought to your knees. That is what's going to happen. It's about understanding that this is these protocols, Bitcoin and Kaspa at its foundation, maybe the devs and people won't talk about that. But it is about replacing the current system and having an opt-out.
That was going to be my question. Is cryptocurrency in any better position today than it was when Bitcoin was created? From a use case structure, is it in any better position today than it was when Bitcoin was created?
Yes, because Kaspa is an evolution of
cryptocurrency. But cryptocurrency as a thing, like let's just say all things are in a room and they get to be picked by people. Is cryptocurrency in any different position than it was when Bitcoin was created?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, yes. And I'll tell you why. The reason for that is because there are people like us who understand it in larger scale than did at that time. And then when Bitcoin was launched, think about what we were coming out of in the economy. It was launched at the back end of literally the entire financial system almost collapsing.
Yep.
And then governments bailing them out and rewarding the people that fucking caused the collapse, and having people that suffered and lost homes probably took their lives. So like that was that's the first iteration of it. There was no money behind it, right?
Okay.
Like there wasn't any economic power. So to say like, I think there have been things, right? And this is my opinion, just looking at the research that I've taken a look at. We have had capture because it's been a smaller asset. Not as much money has been in it. There's been influences that have gotten to the core of these protocols that have delayed what this technology could have done for society as a whole. So I think we've been stopped. We were stopped in 2017 with the block size wars and the split up of everything. And then we were also, when institutions came in like Saylor in 2020, and that caused us to have a different, like that exploded a different narrative, right? So I think Kaspa's only here because of that and the slowing down of us getting in our way. So that's where I am with it.
No, I'm with you. I wanted to scale it back to where I think like we really are. I do think cryptocurrency is in a better spot than it was when Bitcoin was created for what you said. There's a community behind cryptocurrency, all of them. I'm not singling out anything. There is a community behind cryptocurrency, and I do think that those communities are hinged upon what they think cryptocurrency is supposed to be and what they want it for, right? Something that I mentioned before, that I think people find Kaspa when what they're in fails for them. That's the best way I can explain Kaspa. What do you like about cryptocurrency? I like NFTs. Okay, when that fails for you, you can come over to Kaspa because you know what I mean? I like peer-to-peer cash. Okay, what are you in? Okay, that one. Okay, when that fails to you, come over to Kaspa. That crypto's in a better spot now than it was when Bitcoin was created because it's older and there's people who do understand what it is. But it doesn't have much more of a chance to succeed than it did before, right? Because of the ups and downs of what markets have happened. But as crypto has failed in the adoption stage and intersecting into real world and use cases, those who have saw what it does do for them have stayed, right? So there's been people who have entered and exited, but then there's been people who entered and continue to find. So my point in bringing it up is I don't see, and this is just me as a person who's invested in crypto, believed in crypto, cashed out of crypto, trying to figure shit out. This is just me. This isn't chart speculation or anything. I think we're on a very slow grind of a crypto market that will infiltrate infrastructure when it can. There's brilliant products being implemented all over the place. But I just don't think the idea of Bitcoin being whatever they think Bitcoin's going to be is helpful because
that's what's going.
Yeah, there's such a lack of use case infrastructure, which is why I love Kaspa too, right? It has this meshability to fucking go into everything that can happen, and then guess what? Now we can use Bitcoin, or we can use Kaspa. But again, like part of what crypto was supposed to be is, like you said, The dollar crashes, guess what? I still hold my financial asset. The problem is everything is continuing to be touched to the system, right? When we're looking at crypto integration, we're looking at putting it into Walmart cash registers. Well, that's your Visa card, right? How does that help? So I'm just trying to like,
yeah, no, this is good. This is good.
yeah, I'm just trying to thought experiment, because if the idea behind crypto was to have sovereignty in financial assets plus peer-to-peer cash, then cool, we have to do that. But it needs to be, I think that's what I'm getting at, is that it needs to be communal in understanding that this is what we're searching for. I don't like noun to an idea, and the idea is communal sovereignty away from people manipulating our shit.
Yeah. So I think we're still, even so in human years, 17 years isn't,
it's not,
it's a lot. It's a lot to us, because like, again, let's talk about perspective and giving that relevance, right? Like, how old is the Earth? It's 4.5 billion years, right? And we're in our 40s. Like 17 years is almost half of our lives. Like, in perspective, that seems like a long time, but in human evolution, it's a fucking speck, right? So I think if I've gone back and like studied some of this stuff, I don't know everything, but some of the things that I see that are in common is like, what gets in the way of evolving society as a whole? Us.
Yeah.
So when we sit here and we talk about like, oh, them, so taking a look at the for example, the political system, I don't participate in that, because I see it for what it is. Like, there's left and right, that's divide. There's people, there's people with influence. Who are the people with influence? The people with money, power, that can pay for the propaganda to be put out there to continue to have the infighting of people going back and forth. So I see that. Most people aren't there with it. So I see it in this very infantile stage of all this. So I agree with, you mentioned how this is going to be a very slow grind. At the same time, just like the people who saw this early in Bitcoin, like if that's where you're from, that's what you're seeing it as, and that's your foundational basis of it. Like, how do you not look at Kaspa as the original evolution of what it was supposed to go to? There were probably a lot of people who exited in 2017 because they saw what was happening, but there were also people who went to the other things, right? Like Bitcoin Cash, the other ones too, right? They went to all these other protocols, and they're all iterations of the same open source protocol. Kaspa, to me, is the first. Like, Kaspa is a block tag, which isn't going to make sense to people. There, it's easier to just say blockchain, because then you can relate to that. You gotta kind of get to the depths of it and be like, oh, well, block tag, what does that mean? Because you gotta understand what blockchain is to even get to like what the block tag is, and how that secures a network in a way. We get it from like people that are Bitcoin maxis that have been in it for a really long time that don't even look at that and understand like that's an evolution in itself. So I don't think most people operate from like first principles, right? Because we're in this society where our attention is hijacked, and we're very much, just think about the way technology is kind of rolled out and the way where people's attention goes. Everything's like, I want it now, instantly. And then it draws people to kind of stay in that fucking very base level of thinking and operating in the world. So that's where most people are. But there is a sector that does look deeper. And I do think that those are the leaders, the innovators, the visionaries.
Right.
And for me, that starts with like the leaders of individual families. So we got to go back to the basics, right? How do you, when you have an issue, like where do you go to address it? Some people try to fucking throw shit on top of it and make it all cosmetic to fix it. It's like, no, you gotta get down to the base level of it, right? So yeah, it's an interesting conversation, right? Because it's like we don't know, we don't know, but I think where energy goes is where it's gonna flow. So we have an opportunity to continue to educate and to get people to think, because again, we've been in this frame, right? And let's go back on some history here. We've been in this frame since 1913 when the Federal Reserve was created, right? Where it's like prior to that, there was more of a free market and there was a lot of chaos in the market, right? But there were also people that, think about what society was like back then. There were a lot of ups and downs, there was a lot of chaos, but people were more sovereign, right? There
Right.
wasn't like a central bank. Let's go back a little further. Andrew Jackson was one of the first presidents that said, we're not having a fucking central bank here, because he saw what it did over there in Europe, right? But what happens over time is generations of people with that understood and felt that and lived through that, they forget what that was like, and then their children grow up with all this ease, and they just, okay, yeah, this makes it easy and convenient for people. But that speaks to proof of work and people understanding, no, you're gonna, like,
Yeah.
the life experience is about putting in the work and then bearing the fruits of, your labor, being able to operate from there. So we keep trying to be like, I think the universe keeps trying to show us, you can't just sit back and do nothing. Like, that's fucking
Right.
death, like flatlining. You got to get up and live your life. Like, why are we here? Go back to something I've said on this show, haven't said in a couple of weeks. Like, what's the purpose of life? The purpose of life, it's pretty simple: to be alive, and to experience your life. And I think you go further back in history, we were simpler and simpler. Like, things were simpler, and obviously we've created the society, technology has come along. And I think we're kind of, you look at, I've talked about the turnings where they're 80-year periods of when this technological advance kind of takes us back. And I think it takes us back to our roots, to remind us of what's important and what we really want with life. Because at the end of this, like, we're living a human experience, and, like, what's certain, we don't have to speculate on, like, we're all going to die.
Right.
Like, these bodies are going to go, and you can't take any of this shit with you. And while we're here, we try to figure the shit out, and based on your life experiences, you're going to have this way that you navigate throughout life. So to me, it's like, I try to keep everything as simple as possible and go to the baseline, the base layer, and speak to that, bro. Because, yeah, we're here again. If what I'm saying is true, the purpose of life is to be alive. You're going to get the answers revealed to you in presence and being right here, right now. And then it's all an experience that you can't take with you in physical form, right? It's not, I've spoken to, like, where I've dove into with the plants and all that, my connections and everything. I think people get there in their different ways. But yeah, man, on the surface, there's a lot we got to work through. There's a lot we got to work through in order for this to, like, truly be a solution to the problem for the masses. And maybe we never get there where it's like a solution for a lot of people. But I shared the story earlier, right? Like, what did Moses do? He went and got his people, and they just left. They opted out. And that's how I see, these protocols. And not
Yeah.
crypto as a whole, because there's different narratives with crypto, and you have to understand the difference between proof of work and proof of stake. And again, it's not to talk shit about the other projects, but, like, let's go to the baseline of this. Let's go to the base layer of this.
Right.
And, if you exited crypto, did you exit it because you lost money and, like, that impacted you in some way and you had to go back? Like, that's a you problem. Because again, this stuff at the baseline isn't here. It was here to replace what we use as money, what stores our economic output and energy. That's why Bitcoin was created, because of what happened in '08. So if we go back there, we have enough conversations of people going back there, then we start to have a different conversation moving forward. And I think that's where we keep losing our way, because people get lost along the way.
Well, that's something I mean, even that you're bringing up now is like, well, why were you in crypto? Why were you at crypto? And I mean, look, I've been self-admitted. I didn't know the difference between a cryptocurrency and a crypto company. I didn't know the difference between a meme coin or a regular coin. Like, what makes Dogecoin different than fucking, I don't know, Trump coin? Like, what makes them different from each other? I don't know that answer. I'm working 60 hours a week. I don't have the bandwidth to find that answer.
Exactly.
And
That's where 99%
yeah.
of people are when they enter.
So then as I really, I liquidated all my positions. I'm like, I don't know what to do with any of this stuff. So I got rid of all the meme coins that I had, and I held on to the Doge because I heard it was proof of work. And it was similar to Bitcoin. That was enough for me to know that okay, Doge isn't a meme coin, so I'm gonna keep that. And then, again, I shared on here, once it hit a certain number, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna transfer it all to Kaspa, because Kaspa is the one where I heard enough similarities to the actual structure of what Bitcoin was to go, okay, like a real proof of work, doing proof of work shit. Okay, cool. But then what can you do on top of it? I'm like, oh, well, this crypto company that wanted me to invest in for their project, that could actually just be Kaspa itself. Okay, get rid of even looking at those things. So you just don't need to. And then, you know, I was messing around with some Solana stuff, and I go, oh, this is pretty easy. Why is it so volatile? Then I learned what a proof of stake is. And I'm like, oh, proof of stake is what Ethereum went to after proof of work, and the price tanked. And people didn't like Ethereum anymore because it went to proof of stake. So, like, you just continue to educate yourself, because not all crypto is bad. It's just that we don't fucking know what it is or what it's for, which is why my question to you earlier was, is crypto in any better space now than it was back when Bitcoin was created? And I think it's kind of been that peak and valley, that ebb and flow, where the market got so infected with meme coins and shit that's just not good for people to use, that it has to scale back to what is true in what we need. That's why I fucking love Kaspa, because it's always truth seeking. It's always looking for truth in conversation. So if these other things come up, as we've mentioned before, and they bring just as much truth and security and sovereignty and the ability to feel like you're almost, well, yeah, you feel like you're investing in an asset that you can trust its essence, right? Like I can't trust the Trump coin. Not just because of its name, but
it's called Trump coin, bro.
Right,
right there.
But
right
I'm just
there,
saying,
you lose half of society.
But yeah, right. And you're looking at, really what you're looking at is a fire starter, right? Like it is going to be more about the conversation than anything else. But like, what's its value? What can it do? What can you do with it? And that's always been my question with Bitcoin, and what scaled me back on Bitcoin and all of my investments and all of those things. It's like, okay, now I'm understanding what a meme coin is. Shit, I just lost 50% of what I put in there, right? Now I understand what this is. Fuck, why did I spend $1,000 on these miners? I'm not going to get my money back. What the fuck did I do wrong? Oh, what I did wrong was I didn't do my due diligence. Or I did due diligence, but I didn't know what I was looking at. Like I mentioned before about that baseball coach. I was doing due diligence without proper education beforehand. I was looking into this, and I read a white paper and I go, that sounds exactly like what it's supposed to sound like. Not understanding, oh, when you invest in, and I'll say it, like when you invest in Helium miners, that's a company. Helium Token is a company that outsources its mining to whoever can create a product that eventually you get your thing. Now you're paying that company to make the product. You're trying to invest in this token or create and help create this network so you get rewarded in tokens. Meanwhile, because it's a company, they can choose what they want to do with those assets, and their fee structure they can manipulate whenever they want, because it's not proof of work. It is technically proof of work. If you generate network, you can get rewarded, but that fee structure changes based on what they feel like. I didn't know that, and I learned a lesson.
And the thing is, like, I think you speak to what 99.9% of people come into the space in. The reason I didn't mess with it, and like I accepted Bitcoin, and again, going back to, I shared earlier with we'll call it, people talk about like their Bitcoin orange pill moment or their Kaspa green pill moment. For me it was like when I was 20. So this was like back in 2000, before any of these assets were created. I was in a room with older people that were like, I wish I had the foundation of what I got over this weekend to navigate and operate the world in. Right. And that's what has, when I take a look at why have I been able to lead and have conversations with people, and why am I able to resonate with people and experience life like in a very simple way and not overcomplicate this, it's because my baseline, my foundation is solid. Like I don't question that. Right. And then I realized like I have responsibility, but you're speaking to what most people experience when they go in and try to, like, what is on the surface and what do people see when they come into this? It's the dollar signs, the charts, right now it's being very financialized, like Bitcoin specifically,
So,
right? So
yeah.
there's all of that we have to work through, and that's what, like, we can speculate on how long it's going to take. You're probably right, where or maybe it's a grind thing, but that's why these conversations and the way we're going about it and talking about living on the Kaspa standard and relating that to sovereignty. Because again, what's the narrative out there? Like, nobody gives a shit about sovereignty. Nobody really fucking understands it. You didn't understand it like 6
Right.
months ago.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know that it was sovereignty, but this has been my life for 25 fucking years. So before Bitcoin or Kaspa.
Right.
And again, I'll say this fucking out loud again. I had millions of dollars before I found Kaspa and Bitcoin. All right. So I have fun saying, what does that even fucking mean?
Right.
I could buy and go do whatever I want. That's why I fucking went out and met Chris. Like, I had some money. I'm an entrepreneur. And still, it's not about that. Right.
Dude,
So people keep coming to this. When you keep coming to that, and that is your baseline, you're going to keep being brought to your fucking knees in the truth,
right.
bro. So why was that show that I was grateful that I ran with Blockchain Banner for a couple weeks? Like, why was it popular? Why do people resonate with it? It's because we went beneath the fucking surface, bro. That's what it was called. So that's what we have to do with all of this information. And you cannot be attached to whatever the fuck you think it is. You have to be willing to go where it's at and speak the truth on what it is, and then speak on possibilities of what it can be. And if you operate from there, if you fucking operate from there, bro, you will experience it the way you're supposed to experience it. Right? But what do we like? So this is about a reconditioning and a rewiring of how we've come to this. So is crypto, to answer your question again, because I do want to answer that, is crypto in a better place than it was 17 years ago? Absolutely, because we've evolved as a human race. And like, we're having more conversations like this. Will there be battles against these conversations and people telling us to shut the fuck up, or they're idiots, or listen to him stutter, or he says like yeah, that's fucking propaganda. That's what people do on the surface.
Right.
Go fucking deeper, bro.
Yep.
Go, you don't know me just because you hear me on this space, or you know a little bit about me. Come and have a conversation with me. Come hang out with me. Tell me that shit ain't different. Like, you're experiencing me. You guys are experiencing me a little bit here. Come fucking hang out with me, dude. This is how I live my life. Like, I know how to go here, and I had to let go of a lot of shit and understand, like, oh, there's a fucking different way and a different perspective to operate. This is what people want. This is what you're looking for, bro. You're not looking for all this fucking money. Like, obviously that gives you the resources to experience life on another level. There's not enough people with money talking this way. There's not enough of them because they're trying to protect their fucking bags. They're too attached to that. I said this before Kaspa went down, because I remember on a Spaces, maybe it was beneath the surface. I go, if Kaspa goes to fucking 1 penny, I'm the same dude, because I'm resourceful. I'll figure this shit out. Like, it's not about anything else besides that. Like, I'm gonna be the same fucking person. I understand my responsibility. Like, I'm fortunate to have done the work. And the difference between, the way somebody looks at it the way I do versus that other person that keeps speculating and like you're looking from the outside in, bro. You're looking for validation and confirmation from out there to validate everything in here. When you go from the inside out, all the answers fucking reveal themselves from there, brother.
Hell yeah.
So we don't know, but we know. We don't know, but we know.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, look, we like, I believe crypto's in a better space for me to harness my level 10, and it, like, that's what I do know. What I don't know is if externally it's gonna help solidify my level 10, right? Will I be able to take this Kaspa and buy a plane ticket and go to Rosario Compound and raise goats?
Shit.
I might not be able to, right? But
today you can't.
Today. But if I get there, can I put in proof of work and Rosario thank me with cash? And now we create an ecosystem out on that space, right? Where proof of work can be rewarded in peer-to-peer cash. That could happen.
That could,
right?
Yeah.
Right. But it takes
possibility.
Right. And it takes what we talked about earlier in finding your own lane in sovereignty.
Yes.
And it may take I mean, look, Rosario's mentioned it, right? It was a family situation. It was left by his father. It's his, and he wants to enjoy it with people around him. That's not a circumstance that everyone gets to be into, right? Look, when the Powerball goes up, we buy a ticket. We buy a ticket, and if that ticket lands, how much proof of work am I going to put in?
Yeah,
Maybe,
I think that, but I
maybe
think that
a little bit less. Maybe
do you
a little
buy?
bit less.
By the way, no, this is a good point. Do you buy lottery tickets?
So I have a unique circumstance. With me, everything's a story. So let's go along for a ride. My grandfather actually hit the lottery before. They made a movie about it. It's called "It Could Happen to You."
Oh wow!
He was a police officer and he didn't have a tip, and he went to tip his waitress and he said, "If this hits, I'll split it with you." It did hit, and he split it with her. Yeah. So it's my mother's father, who I don't have a great relationship with my mother. She doesn't have a great relationship with her father. So I've only gotten like $50 for Christmas every once in a while, right? So I haven't seen any of the lottery money. But I tell my wife all the time, I said, you buy the tickets, because how many people in one family can hit the lottery? So as long as she buys the ticket, I think we have a better chance. So I personally know I don't buy the lottery ticket. Yes,
your wife does.
She does. Yeah.
Gotcha.
When it goes up high enough to care. Like, yes,
I have no idea what the jackpots are. So the reason I asked that question is because, like, I thought about this the last time I bought a lottery ticket, and I just thought of I don't know how much it was, but it had to have been like 20 years ago. It wasn't aligned with how I function and put in proof of work in my life. And guess what? I fucking won the lottery of life.
Fuck yeah.
Because I put in the work. So I think there's something to that, right? There's something to the thought process of, okay, I'm doing all my shit over here, but let me go buy a ticket. And then you get into this fucking energy of like what is possible and what it could be. And it's an illusion. It's a fucking illusion, because you can get there. Like the fact that you had the thought shows that you could get there, but are you going to put in the work to get there? And that's what I believe, tying that to Kaspa. That's what I believe proof of work protocols show, right? We know that these talking about the problems of Kaspa and what, some of the things that people talk about out there, right? Like the emission schedule. It's a pretty aggressive emission schedule because we need to use Kaspa in order for Kaspa to last and for it to be adopted, right? The proof of work needs to put in. It's one of the issues with Bitcoin. Like, okay, the proof of work, and now you mentioned it about okay, so if you level a base layer and there's only 800,000 transactions that can happen, who can use it? Oh shit! No, so you're making this a tool for people who have money again? Like we're going back. Oh, now you want my Bitcoin and I can collateralize it? How is that any different from a fucking credit card or the loans that we take out today, right?
Well, even that collateralizing isn't helping the base layer.
Well, that's what I'm saying, bro. So it's like it's people not losing. I think but the example of buying a fucking lottery ticket speaks to all of this.
Sure.
So we can tie it together. When you buy a ticket to just try to solve the problem, your problems aren't going to get solved, man.
Right.
You got to face that shit.
Right.
You got to look at it in the face and then go towards it and then put in work to fucking like whatever the hell you think you can or think you can. It was Henry Ford who said that. I remember hearing that shit when I was in play football. I've shared my story. I was a little pudgy center, and I thought I could be a quarterback. The only person who thought I could be a quarterback was this guy. 4 or 5 years later, I get there. Nobody saw that coming, bro. So I have evidence of delusion working in my life. And you can call this being delusional. You can call it whatever the fuck you want. Like I love all of you. I love you all. But I don't give a fuck what you think about me.
Right.
I don't care. I don't care if you like me or I know you guys like me. I know that. But I don't care. It's not going to change how I feel. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm getting at with this, bro. It's like none of this is certain. It's not like for sure. Like we have to put in work. And we're having the conversations around the proof of work that we have to put in order to continue to have this vibrate at the frequency that it's vibrating. Because Kaspa is vibrating at the frequency of truth seekers. And what have we said about truth seekers?
The truth is catching on.
The truth is catching on. And again, I've said this several times and I will say it again. The truth is uncomfortable for most. Most people will go towards what is easy and where the crowd is going. That is human instinct, is to be in comfort and not defy what your fucking soul, like the anxiety, the fear, all that shit is a signal that something's off. And like you need to go towards why that's off. So it takes men, it takes leaders, it takes, women too. It takes people willing to face that shit to be like, hold on, why? Why are you telling me that? And it doesn't feel right. Like your instincts are fucking real, bro. That is a technology that we were given, like we are born with. And we're so detached from it. We're so fucking detached from it, And beautifully, we have a lot, like a lot of you are there with me. You're on this frequency. You're facing that shit. It's not just going to happen. You need to keep showing up. You need to be a part of the conversation. Bring your fucking gifts to it. Each and every single one of you have gifts. You know this. Whatever the fuck it is. Maybe you haven't tapped into it for a while, but you have a gift. You have something. And when you take a look, it's hard. It's tough when you start realizing like, oh shit, I've been operating in the constraints of a system that I didn't choose. But maybe you did choose it. Maybe you fucking did. How about if you looked at it that way and you ran towards the instinct that's telling you like something's fucking off here? That's the shit we need to be talking more about, bro. That's where it's at. That's where growth on the other side. I'm getting goosebumps because I'm like, bro, I have not had the answer. And then like the next day, all this shit materializes and boom, a peak. A bunch of fiat shows up in my life. Juan gets to live at 888 in Biscayne Boulevard in Miami. Fucking sleep on a cloud for 3.5 years. Oh, that's not aligned right now. I'm out here in Texas, in the suburbs, taking it in. My boy flies in. We're here, bro. But I'm willing to fucking go there. I'm willing to face it every fucking day. We ain't scared.
Fuck no,
Let's
man. That's
go.
beautiful. That's fucking beautiful. that's it just sums up everything that this show is about. I mean, and even what you just said, right? Kaspa is the noun to the idea of truth seeking. Like there was nothing else there that had anything to do with Kaspa. And shouts to Seb, a couple weeks ago, I was a little self-deprecating about my ability to contribute to Kaspa and what it is. And he just goes, no, you are, because this show is helping foster community exactly through what you just said and how you said it. So we're not here to be liked. We're here to talk and spread truth and what feels sovereign through what the principles of crypto was supposed to be. That's why I raised that question. I didn't say Kaspa. Is Kaspa the best crypto out since crypto began? No. Is crypto in a better spot than it was? And it isn't, right? It's not like crypto has completely infiltrated the entire fucking world. We're still talking about only 3% of the population ever even touching crypto. What the fuck are we talking about? Crypto's an ant on the surface of the earth. It's nothing.
That's the truth. That's the truth. That's where we're at.
But if communities like ours and these Bitcoin truth seekers, or even the maxis, when it fails for what they're looking for, and I do think a large part of crypto is people looking for truth in help. They might be looking for sovereignty, but don't know what the definition is, like we both realized over the last year. When that happens, we're going to be right here. We're going to have these conversations because the end goal as this crypto community is to take care of ourselves while helping take care of each other. Because that's what you want to do. You want to operate in a space where, again, we've had, we both have conversations with Gonzo and others, right? And even this show or when me and you talk back and forth. But like, if we want to compensate each other for our time and we don't want to run it through a Cash App, it's fucking, here's 30 cash. Thanks for having a conversation. You know what I mean? Like we can do that. We should be doing that, and we should be finding a way to having this community help crypto take that next step. And it's coming. Look, again, I'm not going to criticize Kaspa for what it's doing. There's a chance that once May comes around and that next solidification of what they're building happens, Kaspa fucking explodes with all kinds of utility for people. There's a chance. There's also a chance it fucking sits still again for another 6 fucking months because people don't know what the fuck to do with it. There's a chance. But we'll talk about it. And we'll be right here for it because in truth, if it does work, we'll talk about it. In truth, if it's not working, we'll talk about it because we're looking for it. We're looking for truth.
Yeah. That's all we can do is show up to the moment, brother. Show up to the moment and speak in truth because, I'll say it again. We have to understand this. Like, we've talked about this on the show where we're in this echo chamber. If you're listening through X, realize like, how many users are there on X? 300 million, right?
Something like that,
that's
yeah.
the size of the US. And then the people that are actually speaking on X, we're 20%, the whole concept of 20% is top 20% produces like 80% of what's out there in the world, right? And so essentially the leaders are the people that end up producing. The system is complicated. Most people don't have time. Most people are on the hamster wheel. They got to get up in the morning. They got to go work for the fiat. We know that they are being debased, right? We know that they're in a system where the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and the gap is widening. And it's only going to get fucking worse. The longer and longer we go out and we go in the system, the worse and worse it's going to get for most people. Most people aren't going to be able to see that for themselves. So you as a leader in your family, if you see it, it's your responsibility to become that communicator. And maybe the communicating isn't like you telling them. Maybe it's you showing them. Maybe that's what it is. But it's about facing the truth and going towards that, right? My favorite poem, Robert Frost, two roads diverge in the yellow wood, and I chose the one less traveled by. And that has made all of the difference. That is my life. I discovered that shit when I was 17 years old. I'm like, okay, that's the reason I became a quarterback after fucking being an offensive lineman when I first played when I was 8. I have always chosen the road less traveled by. And that's where we are in this. So go back to your question. Are we in a better spot? I mean, yeah, because we're always in a better spot than we were.
Yeah.
Like no matter what.
Sure.
And that does come to your perspective, right? So whatever your perspective is, you do have an opportunity to shift that. So like if you're not in a place where you're serving your people, because again, this isn't about Kaspa. It's like, how can you be a better human to the people that are around you? How can you vibrate at a level where you lift the people in your life up? Right? Because it is hard for a lot of people out here, bro.
Right.
It's tough. So like, but you do have a choice. You do have a choice. And if you're on here speaking and you're willing to go, then you're willing to be uncomfortable. Like this is a great fucking place to be. Like you're going to meet other people there. Right. And there are possibilities of taking your life and it going to other levels. So these conversations are critical. They're important. They are going to happen weekly here. Right. And as we mentioned in the beginning of the show, we're expanding. We're meeting people where they're at. We got a new TikTok account, Instagram. If you're on any of those platforms, like follow, there's, again, the account's just launched. We're here on YouTube. We're going to be here on X. We're going to continue having the conversation. Looks like this week we haven't had anybody come up and speak.
It's all
I think
good.
the conversation was meant for you and I, and that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But definitely, like, share, subscribe this. We want to continue to get the conversation out. And like you spoke to, Bishop, bro, it's like we don't know, but you study this shit a little bit deep, you realize there's got to be some sort of solution to these fucking issues, right? Like there's a lot of people feeling it out there and they don't know what it is. And fortunately, we're in an energy to be willing to have the conversation and to talk about this stuff. Because most people aren't going to run towards that. They're going to run towards comfort. And that's okay. That's just not where I've vibrated most of my life. That's not where the fucking gold is, bro. That's not where the where the Kaspa is in life. Like that's not, like Kaspa to me is this, ooh, it tastes so good, feels so good. And it's like, I know that I feel, you can hear it by the way I probably speak, but I feel shit on another level. And I do speak in this way because I want people to feel the way I fucking feel. Because life is beautiful, man, regardless. It's like, I've said this, like, I don't give a shit where adoption goes or any of this stuff goes. Because I'm gonna enjoy my life regardless, bro. I'm gonna have a good time.
Sure.
If you're in my energy, you're gonna feel rich around me, bro. Yeah. Like you're gonna feel rich. let's figure some shit out. I got Bishop's an entrepreneur now. He didn't even. I don't think I know how to do it. Nah, Bishop, bro. Like, regardless of where this shit goes, like, we're gonna fly to fucking sporting events.
Yeah,
we're gonna vibe.
Well,
Like,
I don't know. You're a 49ers fan now, so Packers Bucks is off. So there's no Packers Bucks game. You're a fucking 49ers fan.
I say that as the little frustrated child in me that can't fucking believe we let Mike Evans go. But
look, we're 205 in real quick. We're 205 in, and there is a request to speak. So,
there is?
Yes, there is.
Oh shit, we got Zach up here. Sweet. Yeah, let's bring him up.
Awesome.
Zach, welcome to the stage, brother. Nice to meet you.
Hey, yeah. I've never spoken on one of these, or really, I'm like all new to this. Can I speak for a minute, or do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's been Bishop and I going back.
Did I hear Packers and Bucks? Is that like the Milwaukee Bucks by chance?
No, I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan.
Oh, I heard Packers. Okay, never mind.
Well, Bishop's a Packers fan.
All right, well, you're in the right spot because so am I.
Sweet. Yeah, so in some of the early episodes, we would talk. We'll get into the sports and stuff like that because he and I are both big sports guys. So I'm a big football and Buccaneers, Miami Heat. I told you I went to college in Wisconsin, so I was there for the Ray Allen, Ray Allen, Sam Cassell.
Yeah, Glenn Robinson.
Glenn Robinson. There we go, Glenn Robinson. I was there for those years.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to speak up a little bit. I heard you said nobody spoke, and I just joined. I don't know how long you guys have been on. I got off work a little bit ago, so for my fiat slave job. But I just joined and thought I'd chime in since you didn't have anybody chiming in. The community response has been like insane. So I've been on Twitter for X, been on Twitter since 2012, and I would post about Bitcoin occasionally, just random things, But I made that post about Kaspa, and man, that really is a secret code because I honestly did not realize that before I said, hey, I bought a little bit of Kaspa and it exploded. At least for me, I mean, that was an incredible response. And ever since then, I've just been learning more. I feel like more and more I've been in Bitcoin. You kind of were talking about it a little bit. I caught the end of it, but what I'm finding more and more is that I'm on a sound money mission. Like, whether that's Bitcoin, whether that's gold and silver, whether that's Kaspa or another, later invention to come, like I'm on a journey, right? And I don't think your learning should ever stop. And unfortunately, what I've seen with so many Bitcoiners is the learning has stopped for them. And they're like, this is it. They might very well be right because, I mean, to be honest, most of my net worth's in Bitcoin, and I've been a Bitcoiner since right when COVID started, and I saw the crazy monetary printing, that's what got me into Bitcoin. But I mean, I certainly, I look forward. I know we're gonna have a live on this Saturday. I'm happy to talk more then. I don't want to take up all your guys' time, but I just wanted to say, thank you for the warm welcome to all the Kaspa. I don't even know what we'd say. Kaspa Army, Kaspa Warriors. I don't know, but I've heard Kaspa Army.
Good. Yeah,
Caspians.
Fit in there. Yes.
Yeah. All right, Caspians. But I'll keep it at that. Excited to be here, and thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No, thanks for hopping on. I have to go back through Twitter and check your journey because I've been off putting in that fiat proof of work, and I really haven't been engaging that much. But I'm glad to have you because I'm sure you've heard on this space so far is that we truth seek. It's not necessarily, again, it's nouns to ideas, Bitcoin, Kaspa, whatever it is. But what feels true. So we're glad to have you, and as long as you're willing to have the conversation and truth seek, we'll talk about anything you ever want to.
Yeah, man. And I wanted to chime in on what Zach. So first time for us hearing from Zach, he said first time he's actually. I think you walked away when he said it. But
I was listening.
First time you were listening. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was listening.
So Zach, I think he's an example of what we've been speaking about for a long time. It's like once you get to a place where he said he's a sound money advocate, and that's what this show is about, and that's what a lot of Caspians are about. It's like we know the problems. You put us in a room with Bitcoiners and people that see the problems, we're going to agree on the problems. It's this narrative and this energy that's out there that just isn't working. This energy of like you're a shit coiner or have
The
fun
pissing
saying or
contest.
all that shit that dismisses people.
Yeah.
I have been a builder and entrepreneur and been very successful in that, in what I've done in my life. Not once was I able to make a deal talking shit. And so like, you're not going to bring over people
That's a
that
good
want to
point.
understand this by speaking to them that way. And Zach is a reflection of what happens when you start to open yourself up to be like, you know what, I know that there needs to be a solution, and I see Bitcoin. I believe in Bitcoin. I want to share that with the world. Just open yourself up to that, because we're all Bitcoiners too. You talk to most of the people on here. We started with Bitcoin, right?
That's
So
I gotta. Oh, I was just gonna
Go
say
for it.
I got a poll out right now. I'm trying to see like where did everybody come from, and it's like 75% Bitcoiners. I'm
yeah,
shocked.
there you go. Yeah, bro. I mean, it's just where we're all at and where this is at. And Bishop raised the question, like, is crypto in a better space? It's like, yeah, we're always going to be in a better place, today than we were yesterday. And it's where's the energy at? What's being highlighted? And I think, Zach, you finding, or like you talking about it, you're experiencing it. This is the Kaspa energy. It happened to me too. I opened an X account back in 2024. The Bitcoin and Caspians had a debate back in July. I don't know if you've heard about it, but that's where we discovered Kaspa Onion, Nakasompo, Crypto Odie. I see him on here. We discovered a lot of Kaspa people, and the energy exploded because on that space, being a Bitcoiner and holding a little bit of Kaspa, I'm front. I've talked about it. I live in Miami, and I'd met Jeff Booth. I know Robert Breedlove. Met him at doing yoga. I know some of these guys that I went to and had questions with, and like they were literally blocking me for just asking questions. And then the energy that I felt with the Caspians was like, oh, these are the people that are just open. Like I've been my entire life and aren't attached to shit. So yeah, you're experiencing what I think is going to happen for a lot of people once they go towards, okay, look, Bitcoin isn't at $1 million like they said it was going to be, or all of this, and like people are just going to go layers and layers deeper, and this is where you're going to end up finding Kaspa, discovering Kaspa. So I think you speak to that, and like you mentioned, we mentioned it early in the show, Zach. I had talked about how it's yourself, you're the newer Caspian, but myself, Kaspa Silver's hosting it, but myself, we got Zach, Kaspa Onion, and VJ. We're going to be on a live on Kaspa Silver's channel, April the 4th, this Saturday. Do you know the time? I think it's either 8 or 8:30 Central.
Yeah, 8 a.m. Central is what I got.
Okay,
Shoo.
so yeah, 8 a.m. Central. So I'm sure there'll be a tweet, and we'll kind of get it out there so people can share it. But yeah, bro, the energy is beautiful. It's great to have you. Great to have you here, man. Thanks for coming up and giving us the honor of hearing you. Or this is the first time you've spoken on a space, so great to have you on the show, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to Saturday and just learning more, really. Because again, like it's a sound money journey for me, like, and it's not, it should be never ending, and if Kaspa,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. I think it's like, that's what I'm realizing, because I was a toxic Bitcoin maximalist and very recently.
VJ? We'll definitely hear more about that on Saturday. But you, VJ,
Yeah.
Kaspa Onion, you'll see.
Yeah.
We know.
So here's the question for you, Zach.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much.
No,
And,
can I ask you
yeah,
one
it's
question
cool
though? So even though you said you were a hardcore Bitcoin maxi, but you're on a search for sound money, is there any other sound money that you're interested in right now? Or is it just Bitcoin and Kaspa at the moment? Have you found any other thing that sounds good to you as sound money?
Honestly, no. I got sucked into Bitcoin. I've kind of always had a libertarian freedom mindset. I didn't really understand so I think like if we're gonna push sound money, like Juan, you just said before, you said we can't be like selling people Bitcoin, like, or Kaspa or anything.
Right.
They got to recognize the problem first of all, right? And if we can get people to recognize the problem, even if we just do that, that's enough for me. Like people then will then look for solutions. But to get back to your original question, no, because I came to Bitcoin and studied it because of what it offers at the base layer, and I do think that Bitcoin has flaws. It has missing things potentially, and that's where I think Kaspa comes in. Is obviously the scaling issue and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's really been. I mean, like I said, I've kind of had a freedom mindset, but as far as money goes, no, it's really been. I never really took much of an interest in silver or gold. Maybe a little silver, but. Then Bitcoin, then Kaspa. really. Yeah.
No, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think, and it's something that we said on a couple of shows, Juan, at least for me, like the idea of the next Kaspa, right? Like something to say something else won't come up again is foolish, right? Because that's like Bitcoiners saying that, well, we were first, so we're better, right? Kaspa right now has seemed to become the more perfect version of what a proof of work is. And shouts to the dev team, they're always future proofing, right? They were at 1 block per second. They go to 10 just cuts, right? Or actually, they're going to 10 because they want to go to 100. Why do they need to go to 100? Right? Like it's a future proofing for real time decentralization that they're working on. That's really fucking cool. And if there's an ability for something else to get created after that's going to do it better, then why wouldn't we be a champion for it? Right? Like because like Zach said, that increase the ability to have sound money, right? And again, there's 8 billion people in the world. There's enough Kaspa for everybody to have 3.5. Well, that's not enough. That's not enough, right? And then if everything's equal, then we need to be able to transfer proof of work for some type of asset. Can that only be Kaspa? Can that only be Bitcoin? No, we're gonna need more. But we should all want it as sound money, something with proof of work, secure, bounded by entry, decentralized, with the ability for us to have a peer-to-peer exchange to determine its value, not some market maker to be able to impact the price exchange of it. So that's that's why I'm here.
Yeah, this is beautiful, Bishop. Yeah, I mean, again, just to reiterate there, what you're saying is just like we don't know what it looks like a year from now, 2 years from now,
Right.
3 years from now, and we have beautiful minds working on this and spending probably every minute of their waking days future proofing, the network. So, did we ever think? I know I didn't. I'm sure you didn't, Bishop. 10, 15 years ago, when we were in our 20s and 30s, like, oh, I'll be able to get on this platform and speak to somebody in Delaware, and there's people here like Chris is from London in real time. Like, we didn't picture this. Like, I remember people talking about it. So these technologies have to emerge because we as humans, we as people, as beings, we evolve and we grow. And there isn't one iteration of us. Like I shared earlier, I am a brown, black, like I have a lineage in West Africa, Portugal, Spain, Canada, North America, and I was born in Panama. I speak Spanish fluently. Soy panameño, right? So it's like, there's enough. There's not going to be one of anything. I don't believe. I just think we're
Right.
too beautiful of a race, of an existence to like one iteration. I'm sorry. There's likely going to be other things that we can't even think about right now that need to be solved. So, these guys are future proofing things because they see things that aren't even necessary. You're right. Like for what this is today, just taking a look at it from the base layer, it works.
Right.
It works like that. I've shared, right? Like, what was it for me? It was a large amount. Like, I had sent Bitcoin and had to wait 45 seconds. You send 50 grand on Bitcoin and it's there in 45 seconds. It's like, this is the best thing we got. Because if I send it through the bank, it's like 3 days, 4 days. Well, it was awesome. Like when Bitcoin, I sent that much money, bro. But when I sent, it was $100,000 in Kaspa to my cold wallet, and it was there like that. I don't get you can fucking tell me whatever you want, bro. It doesn't matter. I just experienced that. Like, you can't, I understand how this shit works. Like, who can say that they've done that,
Yeah, I was re-solidified in Kaspa live on this show, live on the Kaspa Standard back in January when I liquidated the last of my 401k, and it took over 3 weeks to materialize into actual fiat into my bank account. It's like, yeah, I don't think I ever want that to happen again. Yes, I will always need fiat in some structure. That's one thing I did learn. But if I can have some cold storage for the future and do a daily buy to figure out what I can do with when crypto becomes what we want it to be, which is real world utility all the time, then yeah, I'll work on it then. But I'd be damned if I harbor my money in a way where I can't touch it again. That was crazy. Over 3 weeks. Over 3 weeks to touch the money that they tell me is mine.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just that's fiat for you. So
we gotta, like we've talked about, bro. It's not a complete opt out because we still have to operate that. We have to pay, taxes, bills. Like we're law abiding citizens. Like this isn't about, we're gonna do what we have to do.
Well, and that was a question
we're gonna speak truth. But like just to kind of hit home something that you said, right? And I think Zach speaks to this too. Zach coming up here and sharing, talking about why he's in Kaspa now. People will find this when what they use fails for them. Yep. So that's why we're all here. It's because what we're using, what we try, it failed, and it's like, okay, we know there's more. And as long as you keep that mindset, you're gonna find Kaspa. Maybe gold for you, it may be Bitcoin on the base layer. We don't give a shit. It's not about any of that. It's like just keep having the conversation though. Like Kaspa's here. Like just because you think what you think, it's not gonna make it go away. Like it's here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, that's and I love that. That's why I love having those conversations. I'm really excited to see where you guys get to on Saturday.
Be fun.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think I'm kind of good for the day. A hell of a conversation. But what I will do is, volunteer another 5-10 minutes of my time. So if anybody else who's on the stage wants to come up and speak, I think we can hang for a little bit longer. If not, we can wind it down. What do you think, Juan?
I'm right there with you, brother. So we did have somebody, but he jumped off. I don't see him in the spaces anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, he was there. I don't know. Yeah, somebody was requesting. I think it was. Yeah, I don't know who it was. Maybe
you know how Twitter goes.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll give it a couple minutes.
By the way, I think we can spend a good 5-10 minutes. Shouts to Kara, man. She put her book out.
Oh yeah, we got to shout out Kara.
Yeah, Kara.
Don't say the word though. The title of the book.
Right. Congratulations, Kara, on your book, The Word We Shall Not Speak.
We won't say it because we want you to listen to this if it gets to you, and we don't want you to turn it off. So now be very aware because we don't want to be a part of that book. We know it's a fiction. What is it? Nonfiction?
Yeah. Science fiction.
Science fiction.
Science fiction.
So for people that are fans of 1984. It's a dystopian novel that she wrote. And Kara, if you don't know who we're talking about, Kara was my co-host on live. This is live. She was my co-host on Beneath the Surface, Blockchain Banter, that I was fortunate to run for, I think we ran it 19 weeks on Blockchain Banter. See my man Chris in the spaces. Check out Blockchain Banter, by the way, right after this. Those guys are G's legit. They'll be on episode 96. So yeah, Kara is awesome. She's been busy finishing up her book, and she has her book out. So congrats, Kara.
Yeah, available in many forms. Yeah, good for her. We're very happy for that. And she has Kaspa.
I bought.
Purchase.
Yeah.
You bought it?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I did. Last night I noticed the post, and I went ahead and wanted to be one of the first Juans to do it, and I did.
You're corny as fuck.
Sometimes.
No, that's awesome.
I am.
That's true, bro. We are. Oh, I can't even tell you. We'll be in the middle of some shit. I'll say something. My wife looks at me. I'm just like, I'm built for dad jokes, man. I'm built for dad jokes. They just come flying out of me.
The best is when you get I do it to my son, and he just like looks at me like, "What are you talking about?"
I'm that asshole at the restaurant with the dad jokes. I am. So, anything I help you with today? I get a couple things. You're our server, right? It's just the dumbest shit. I can see that with you. I'm built for dad jokes, man. I just fucking love it. But yeah, all right. Well, shit, man. This sounds good. I mean, I know I said 5 to 10. It's only been 2, but
we're good, man.
Shouldn't take that long. Sounds good to me. Well,
we're hitting people up on their lunch breaks and whatnot. So yeah, man. I appreciate Zach coming up, introducing himself for the first time on a Spaces. And yeah, stay tuned because we got more coming.
Every Monday at noon, unless otherwise told. And that will be discussed between myself and Juan. And we will let you know at LOTKS.kas for myself and at Glitchin888 for Juan. This has been episode 23 of Live on the Kaspa Standard. If you want to check us out on X Spaces every Monday, Follow Juan at Glitchin888 for X video, live on the Kaspa.s for youtube.com/live on the Kaspa Standard. Over on Vivor. Vivor is a Kaspa monetary rail, right? Because they use live peer for video, but all donations and exchanges uses the Kaspa layer 1. Vivor.xyz/channel/LOTKS. If you want to send an energy exchange donation in Kaspa, you can do so to LOTKS.kas or live on the Kaspastandard.kas. I finally have that into one wallet, so Juan can stop complaining about how much I owe him. It's 50% of what that balance is.
You don't owe me anything, bro. It's for the show.
We have other links as well for castmap.org. You can use promo code Juan or promo code Bishop to get yourself a little discount on premium. Should use Kaspa apps like Vivor, much more. Yes, we should, and we use it every Monday for live on the Kaspa Standard.
Yes,
we
sir.
have our sponsor, BetterMelts. GetBetterMelts.com. Promo code LOTKS for 50% off any and all orders. That's GetBetterMelts.com. Promo code LOTKS for 50% off. That is the business. Juan, send us home, brother.
Reminder, Kaspa is vibrating at the frequency of truth seekers, and the truth is catching on. My man Zach as an example. Thanks for coming up today, Zach. Love you all. Remember, be humble, be kind, give it time. We will see you next week on episode 24. Kobe. My man Kobe,
Peace.
24. We'll see you. Love you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.